Welcome, everyone, to day 3 of the live stream system. I'm AJ Roberts. Alongside me is Jason Fladland. And by now, you guys have been with us for quite a long time, quite a amount of hours. And hopefully, you have already began to put together your webinar presentation. You started to think about how you're going to get traffic to that webinar, what type of webinar you're going to run, and style you're going to follow. And today, really, what we want to get into is the marketing, scaling, and automation of that. And we've kind of covered marketing quite a bit over the last few days. And so really just putting that all into a succinct message for you so that you know what to do moving forward. And you can see the opportunities that webinars can bring you and your business. So Jason, why don't you tell a little bit more about what we're going to be talking about today?
All right, well, first thing is, because you're here and we are live, I noticed looking at the chat log as we were joining today, it's kind of like a family, isn't it? So people were like, oh yeah, you're back again. Hello, clan. Hello, crew. And Leo, I thought you were afraid of video, but apparently you're not, that kind of stuff. So I hope you see that and recognize the power of, I really feel like we're in this together and we've been on a journey, and I hope that's not lost on you how effective that can be if you're doing live. Now, if you can't do live, does that mean you're locked out of the profits that a webinar represents? Of course not. We're going to talk a lot about that here today. We're also going to talk about the tech, because you can know all the ways to drive the fastest cars on the planet, but if you don't have the keys to any of them, you're going to be stuck at home. So the technology is extremely important. So my first thing is I want to ask you this, and I want you to respond to the chat box here, is do you have a platform that you use? If I were to hand you a webinar script done and it was written in your name, and I had made you the best pitch possible so you could go out there and conquer the world and win all the riches and the fame and everything that goes along with that, would you be able to drop into a system right now and go with it? And I can't see the chat because I'm in presenter mode right now, but what's kind of the flow as we're getting into this, AJ? I know there's a slight little tick of a delay here, and we want to make sure everybody has a chance to answer, but real talk. Could you, if I handed you the perfect presentation, drop it into a system right now and be putting it out there into the cyber interwebs by tonight? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat box. And AJ, what's the pulse on this? Roughly speaking, percentage-wise, how many people would be ready to go?
It's mixed. Some people do, some people don't. So it's interesting here, and some people have shared some of the things they're using, but I'm not sure that those softwares allow them to do all of the things that we've been sharing. So it's interesting to see, and it's good to see some people are ready, and some people definitely need a simple solution that's going to help them. So we'll be glad to share that. We got something very special at the end of the webinar we'll share with you that will really help you with the tech. We have a very special offer, but we don't really want to talk about that right now. We just want to deliver the content, and then we'll get to that when we get to it.
Okay, perfect. Now here's the good news, is let's assume the tech has been solved for you, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm going to show you some of the best strategy ever that you can do with webinars, a strategy today that 99% of marketers will never be able to pull off, because the other challenge here is the technology is not the solution. That's like buying a faster computer will supposedly make you more money online. It doesn't work that way, right? Technology serves you. So if the technology isn't made to help you in marketing, you might as well not touch it. So the big challenge is if you don't have the technology, you can't make this work. But if you have the wrong technology, then guess what will happen? You will get so frustrated, you'll become addicted to alcohol in your state of depression. You'll throw your computer against the wall, and you'll still be broke at the end of the day. So it's not just having technology, it's having the right technology. Now let me talk to you about the right mindset, because this is the thing that keeps more marketers poor than anything that I've just discovered. Here's the challenge of being in the guru business, which I find myself ironically in, somebody who would rather spend nights quietly alone without having anybody recognize me or know who I am, but thrust into the spotlight I may be. In this guru business, here's our challenge. We never come on and do web events like this and say, let me show you the time I made $1,276 off of a webinar. Or let me talk about the time that we made $4,022 from a web event. Yeah, nobody cares about that. They only want to know the glorious, most triumphant results. And I've had more probably more million-dollar presentations than anybody. Not one presentation that made millions of dollars, but a lot of presentations that each on their own individually in multiple markets have made over millions of dollars. So if I'm selling you a webinar training course, I'm going to show you those. Those are atypical. Those came after many years of me nose to the grindstone figuring this stuff out. Some of that was luck. Right time, right place, right jazz, right all that kind of stuff, right? What you have to do is right-size the opportunity as we teach it here today so you can put it in the proper context, which is, here's the deal. If it takes you an hour to make $2,000, for most of you, I would assume that's a level up. Would I be right in that assumption? Now, again, you can't go to an internet marketing conference and say, let me show you my webinar. Let me keynote the presentation, because I just made $2,000. Nobody cares. But before I ever made $10,000 on a webinar, I made $1,000 on a webinar. And before I ever made $100,000 on a webinar, I made $10,000. And before I made $1 million, I made $100,000. And 8 years later, I became an overnight success. So I don't want you, even though I'm going to show you some actual data, I don't want you to think you can grab the gold ring overnight. It's a gradual, slow process. But get rich quick, does that exist? Maybe, depends on your definition of quick. Because if this takes you a couple years to hit your financial goals, and most people work their whole life to end up with less money in their pocket than what they owe their creditors, I would say that's pretty quick. I don't know how you feel about that. So in the proper context, let's then, now that we've set it up, let's go to the slideshow here today. And I want to break down some technique for you. If you truly understand and capture this, you will be in a position to be able to crush it. So if we can throw the slide up on the screen here, boom, 96 webinars a day. Are you scared yet?
I was going to say, what? Huh? I was thinking 1 a week, Jason. 96 a day. Please explain.
Yeah, 96 webinars a day. That is very intimidating as a figure, but that's exactly what we do when we run all of our webinars. My goal is to, when I create a webinar presentation, to have it run 96 times per day, 365 days per year. And so when we do 96 webinars a day, you got to understand where we're coming from here. I don't care what business you're in, you are in the math and psychology business. You say, well, Jason, I teach dog trainers how to get more clients. No, you don't. You are in the math and psychology business. I want everybody to say out loud right now, I am in the math and psychology business. Because if you understand this, making money online becomes a tremendous amount easier. Now, the psychology part of this is understanding why people buy or why they wouldn't buy. But the math part of this is making sure that you keep more than you spend to acquire your buyers. And so the psychology and math business, now you can approach the business logically instead of emotionally. So that way you don't feel like a failure even though you're on the path of success, which is what robs more people. It's not that people don't take action. That's kind of this myth that, oh, you just need to take massive action, or, oh, yeah, you don't take enough action, that's why you're a failure. No, people take action and then they feel bad about the actions they take. And that's intelligence. You should not continue to do something that makes you feel bad. But if you have a different perspective, what once made you feel bad may now make you feel good. All right? So let's say you sell a $297 product. Now for me, that's too cheap, okay? For most of the solutions, you can engineer to up-level people's lives, be it physical products, digital projects, services, software, whatever the case may be. $297 is on the lower end of what the power of a webinar could accomplish for you. My favorite price point to sell on a webinar is between $2,000 and $5,000. But yeah, any one of you with minimum amount of training, basically the training from yesterday and the day before, you are in a position to sell a $297 product and have the other person buying get the best end of the deal. But let's just say that's what you sell. We're going to keep it simple. Now, on most webinars that you do, you shoot blanks, zeros, donuts, nothing. You show up and you work and you get paid nothing. If you would have drove Uber, you would have put more money in your pocket. Let's just say that's the scenario for you. You're like, wow, Jason, I thought this was like a Tony Robbins positive motivation speech you were on. No. We are acknowledging reality. I have had many webinars make $0. Probably more webinars. I probably own the record of webinars that have made $0 that exist right now. Just like Michael Jordan has missed a lot of shots. Just like Babe Ruth struck out more times than any other player. But that's not the full story because we're in the math and psychology business. Let's just say even the webinars that we sell upon, we are only allowed one buyer, okay? So here's the deal. Most webinars you do, you make 0 buyers on it. Occasionally you strike gold, you get lucky, you make 1 buyer, and as soon as you get a buyer, as soon as you see that money hit your PayPal, or as soon as you see that money hit your Stripe account, or you see it settle up, you close the webinar immediately because you do not want anybody else to buy. For whatever reason, you decided, I will only take one buyer per webinar. All right, now you with me here? Most webinars you're doing, you walk away empty-handed. On the rare webinar where you do get a buyer, as soon as you get one buyer, you run, close the webinar, don't allow anybody else to buy. You say, Jason, you just made bad go into worse. Well, hold on. We're not done yet. Stick with me here, okay? Let's go a little bit deeper, because success is going a little bit deeper than the surface. But yeah, this is depressing, isn't it? Until we run the numbers. And then when we run the numbers, it may look different to you. So this is an actual chart. So let's say you were running a webinar. Now an automated webinar, evergreen webinar, whatever you want to call it, and do it the way that we teach, which is every 15 minutes. So this is your timetable. So at 00, which would be midnight, you get 0 buyers on that webinar. At 12:15 a.m., 0 buyers. 12:30 a.m., 0 buyers. 12:45, you got 1 buyer. Now you say to me, Jason, who's going to believe that a webinar is a live event going on at 12:45 a.m.? And the answer is nobody. But it doesn't matter whether they believe it or not. In fact, it's not a good idea to say, hey, this is live when it isn't live. You just say upcoming webinar. And it runs every 15 minutes. We don't have to be genius programmers to say, okay, well, gee, let's make sure it's in their time zone at this time rate at this place. Otherwise, they'll be on to us in our automation. No, it doesn't matter that way. People say, ooh, upcoming live web event about this thing, I'm interested. I want to know more. So miraculously, we made 1 sale at 12:45 a.m. And then the next 12 webinars made no sales. Okay? We picked up another sale at 4:15 a.m. We picked up another sale at 4:30. We struck out a whole bunch more times. As you can see throughout the day, we picked out a couple more sales. But here's the statistics. Out of the 96 webinars that we ran that day, 84 of them struck out. 84 times we failed miserably. We were a laughing stock. And only 12 measly times we picked up a sale, and that was only a single sale. So what does this look like, okay? This is what this looks like. It looks like 12 buyers a day. And 12 buyers a day at $297. Let me spare you breaking out the calculator. I've already done the math for you. This is how much it is. It's $3,564 per day. So in March of 2020, which is next month, which is when I expect all of you to be rocking and rolling with evergreen automated webinars, this is what the schedule would look like if you were able to pull something like this off. Now, caveat, disclaimer, all that jazz. I'm not pretending any of you will actually do this. This is just an example of what's possible. You say, whoa, Jason, I can lose 7 out of 8 times. I can barely win on the 8th time selling a product that is on the very low end of the spectrum of what webinars are, because I bet you've been on plenty of webinars where somebody sold something for more than $297, and I bet you have bought on plenty of webinars something for more than $297, okay? But this is just a scenario. So that is $110,484,000 per month, or in other words, that is a 7-figure business. So isn't it amazing how something can seem possible and doable if you actually break it down step by step? The number one thing that holds people back from success is they look at something and it's so big and it's so overwhelming and it's so scary that they never get out and go and do it. They never take it on. They say, what happens if I fail on a webinar? I'm giving you permission to fail on a webinar. Please fail your way to $1 million on a webinar. That's what I want from each and every single one of you. Yes, this doesn't seem glorious or exciting, and it might not have been what you envisioned in your fantasies of doing. You envision having a stampede of buyers running hand over fist, climbing over top of each other to shove money in your hands, right? But this is success in the real world. And this is how we play the games. We don't pretend there's weeds in the garden, or there's no weeds in the garden, and then hope everything works out. We take those weeds, we rip them out, we throw them out so we can actually build our garden. So this is a $1 million business. Now, is this possible for you? I don't know, but this is the path. Don't you feel now more likely to be successful now that we put this into context?
Yeah, what I love about this math is that if you look at it, you go, even if you say, well, 12 sales a day, how is that going to happen? Look, if you just made 1 sale a day, that's around $10,000 per month, right? So it's a fascinating thing that even if you struck out 95 out of the 96 times, if you just make 1 sale a day, for most of you, that's a 6-figure business, right? If you're looking at this and you're going, well, Jason, I haven't even got to 1,000 a month online. How am I going to get to 100,000?
Yeah.
Oftentimes when you think about that, reality seems so far away that then it becomes becomes almost like a dream. It's not really a goal, it's a dream. And so for those of you who are sitting there going, well, I've never even, how would I do an automated webinar? The beautiful thing is you do a live webinar and now you have your recording for your automated webinar. So it's not like you have to do a lot beyond what we've already showed you. And we'll get into kind of how to make that all simple process so that you can just press a button and essentially set that up. But what's key here is really just understanding that once you have your presentation, if you use the format we've shared, you know, from the actual presentation itself and then how you're going to build your audience, and you do this, there isn't a reason that you shouldn't do something and get somewhere, right? And then you tweak from there. $297, I know most of you are probably like, well, that's a lot, right? And Jason's here saying that's not a lot. We typically see a lot of webinars at $2,997. That's the normal price for what someone is selling off of a webinar. And they do very, very well with that. Their numbers do very, very well. But if $297 to you seems like the right starting point, I always tell people start where you're most comfortable, right? And then change and go and add to that. So first webinar you do, you might sell at $297. Second one you might do at $397, and you can go from there. Because once you see that people purchase and it isn't a reflection of the price, you'll realize how easy it is to sell a $297 product or a $2,997 product. The psychology is not that difference when it comes to sales. And really it's all about what the transformational value is that they see. And if there is a monetary gain for them, that's a very easy sell. Oftentimes, if it's a transformational gain, we have to show the value, which we went through. We showed you how to show the value so they can see how much they've lost in the past and how much they would lose in the future. You know, weight loss, for example, is if you continue to gain weight, how big are you going to be in the next 2-3 years? So by doing that, create urgency, create a sense of desire to move forward with you, and the price doesn't become a cost, it becomes an investment in themselves. And so this is how you can quickly build it up. But even at this price, you can see how the math works. And this isn't something that is Jason is going from theory. This has worked for himself, this has worked for his clients, this has worked for many of our clients who use our platform, and we can go and we can see their numbers, and we can see those who are running automated webinars. The hurdle, the hardest thing is doing that first webinar, and that's why we started with the structure of the webinar on day one here, was so that when we got to this point, you couldn't say, well, what do I say? What do I do? How do I put it together? You already have that, and we saw by the comments coming in, the confidence people had in terms of being able to tell their story, that story structure, and that's really key. Once you have your story, your lessons, what you're sharing, and then you put together the program that helps take someone from where they are to where they want to be, you have your formula. And that's really what is important here, is for you to understand that you can do this. There's really no reason that you shouldn't be able to start once we get done here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reality of this is very simple. I have seen more fortunes lost when people said, Jason, I did a webinar, I studied your stuff either because I bought from you or I bought from somebody who has studied from you. So you probably studied from me even if you don't know it. And you say, I went out there and I did my webinar and I converted at 0.1%. I am an absolute failure. I am a loser. I'm going to go back to spamming Instagram to try to make money that way. And I say, damn it, if only you knew what I knew. You are a millionaire in waiting. It's okay if you convert at 0.1%. Just automate it and run it. But the reason why you don't see automated webinars is because people are looking at web analytics and they're thinking about all these people that are not buying, which is unfortunate because the path to success in this world is changing people one at a time. So if you get one a day, you are going to be wealthy, more than monetarily, more than financially. But if you hold yourself back because of a impoverished way of looking at things, then everybody loses. You lose least of all. The people that you could reach and help, they lose most of all. So I really want this to be motivation for you to understand that you got to start somewhere, and I hope each and every one of you have horrible conversions on your webinars, but those conversions run consistently, because that's how success looks like in the real world. Small, consistent daily wins repeated over and over again. So if you actually do a live webinar and it sucks and you only make a couple sales, awesome, automate it right away, right? The common theory in the marketplace right now is do a live webinar 67 times until you're blue in the face, sick to your stomach, and you're tired of saying the same things over and over again because you polished it and polished it and polished it, and then automate it, okay? That doesn't sound fun to me. I'm saying you do a webinar until you say, hey, a couple people will buy every time they see this. Now let's automate it, all right? So let's just do that. Now let's break it down to the next one. So if we're selling a $297 product, which again may or may not be a lot, I don't care if you move the decimal one place or another. This is just illustrative purposes. Let's say it cost you, though, almost the full amount of money to make a sale. So this is why I like $297, because I believe for each and every single one of you, psychologically speaking, $297 is a completely comfortable price point for you to be in. Let's just say it costs you $200 whole to make a sale. Because a lot of people say, Jason, how do I get traffic? 12 sales a day. Wow, that seems very intimidating. Well, if you were spending $200 per sale, how many buyers or how many potential leads could you be buying? A lot is the answer. So you say $200 a sale, that's a tremendous amount, Jason. Well, it is and it isn't, because we're in the math and psychology business. You would only need to make 3 sales a day. If you paid $200 per sale and you only made 3 sales a day, meaning out of your 96 webinars, 93 of them struck out. You're paying a premium price for buyers at $200 per buyer. You're selling a low ticket offer on a webinar, which is $297. That's on the low end of most webinars. And if you make just 3 sales a day with all of that going against you, that is a net profit of 6 figures per year, right? My goal is to make what seems hard to understand a reality that's so clear that you can't help yourself but to move forward towards it. And that's what we are trying to do here for you today, because of 2 reasons. One of the reasons is we just like to help our customers succeed. It reflects positively on us, but there's a second reason, which we will get into here shortly. Now let me put it into the final structure here, in the final context. You got something, AJ?
Yeah, what I was going to say is something we haven't mentioned, and this isn't to kind of push the pipe dream here, but some of you saw the 7 figures and they said, wait a minute, it's net 6 figures. Well, there is another component that we're not talking about that most people don't realize. Not only are we building an email list, right, of people. So even if we only get 3 buyers a day, whatever, if we're getting registrations, we have an email list now. So we're building an audience. The value of that long term is unknown, right? For some people, it takes almost 8 months before they'll see someone on their email list become a buyer. But when they do, there's no limit to what they have, the value of a lifetime customer. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, we're not talking about selling them anything else, right? So we're only talking about first-time sales here. These are first-time sales, first-time buyers. You have the ability to create other things on the back end, and there's nothing easier than selling a buyer another product as you go. We haven't included upsells, we haven't included cross-sells, we haven't included other items here. This is just simply straight from the webinar. So you can get yourself a 6-figure profit business, regardless of what the gross is, 6-figure net profit, before we start to add any of the other things we can do to our customers, to our audience that we build. So you're really building a business here, not just these numbers. And I wanted to say that because I think what's important here is a lot of people see the numbers, they get excited. I get excited when I see the numbers. I'm thinking to myself, I need to have like 10 of these going, right? And I have all these ideas of things I could do. But the truth is most people are stuck because they don't see how this becomes a business. Right there, what you're doing, even if it costs you $200 to make a sale, how many leads did you get for that? And what's the opportunity there? So it's not all about the revenue. That's what gets us most excited because that's what pays the bills, and that's what allows you to continue to have impact in other ways. But the truth is that this system brings you so much more than just the dollars that will end up in your bank account for long-term success. And that's really why we didn't start out with, hey, you can do this, you can build this huge business. And we said it's going to take some work, and maybe you'll fail a whole bunch of times. We wanted to be so honest with you that, in fact, it scared you a little bit. We're like, wait a minute, do I really want to take this risk? We want you to understand that if you want long-term success, not short-term sales, long-term success, long-term business success, that webinars can be the path to that. And we wanted to show you that and break that down. And that's why we picked the numbers we did, so that it was attainable for you, but also so you could wrap your head around the mindset portion of it, so you can have the confidence to go do this. Because to us, there's nothing more important than the fact that you leave these 3 days we've had together and actually go do this. That's the most important thing to us. So we wanted to give you a system that allows you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, webinars to me hits that sweet spot where we can make short-term profit, but it positions us to make even better long-term profit. Most business models are we either front-load the profit and then we make a lot of money short-term, but then we stop working and all that money goes away, or it's we starve for 10 years so we can finally turn the corner and then get rich, or then finally hit our financial goals. The webinar solves both problems. Short-term, we can create a transaction environment so we can speak to the best part of the market and get a lot of money up front. But even better, we set them up because we lead with value on these webinars, just as we described to you yesterday and the day before. So they are going to be predisposed. If they say, oh, wow, AJ's got another webinar? I remember the last time I was on his webinar, it was amazing. I'm going to come to his next webinar, and I hope he has something for me to consider investing in. Because if he does, I can choose to, or I can choose not to. But if he doesn't, then I'm just going to have to say, oh, that was fun, and then figure out what to do from there. And so you are setting yourself up in the short term to be successful in the long term. But nothing will cost you more in this business than not making it very crystal clear what you can accomplish. So my goal here today is to make your fuzzy target that doesn't get hit so clear and so wide and bright and beautiful, and you just shoot arrows at it and then boom, bullseye, bullseye, bullseye. So start small and then go big. So let me put it in from big to small in its final context here. There are 2 billion plus Facebook users. There's got to be 3 of them a day that you can reach to make an offer to, who will be more than thrilled to exchange a small pile of money for a large stack of benefits and value that you provide to them. The only thing that's getting in the way between you and them is you. You are the only thing that's getting in the way, because we have given you this system over the last 3 days, and we are going to put the final cherry on top here today. AJ.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions coming in about what we've just talked about, so let's answer those. So one of the questions here is, is 97 euros too low to price rank on a webinar?
No, not until you know better, right? If $97 or 97 euros gets your webinar in front of somebody by next week, then let's go 97. Now, what will inevitably happen is you will probably realize later on that $97 was too little, and then you will raise the price. But I would rather have you make that mistake and make money in the process than to overthink it and worry and be concerned. Just make good deals. Put good deals in front of people, and the rest will eventually fix itself.
Great. Nicole asks, should you tell your audience it's a recorded webinar if you're doing Evergreen?
Depends, right? It's like you have to decide yourself. I would never in my situation say this is a live webinar when it's not. But at the same time, we don't want to broadcast and trumpet the fact that, hey, listen, I've created an automated system so I could sleep but still sell you, because that actually spoils the message that you're putting in front of them before you make the offer there. So it's a little bit of give and take, right? When my children ask me certain things, I give them childlike answers. I don't give them the adult answers. I don't tell them some of the darker parts of the world. I'm going to allow them to grow in and figure that self out. So everything in due time. So instead, I like to call them broadcast, upcoming webinar. And then if anybody wants to know why I do it that way, I just simply tell them, hey, listen, if I make it available whenever you want to watch it, I know you probably won't watch it. If I allow you to decide, is this important enough for me to show up and show up on time and show up ready, and you do show up, I will have served you better. So it's okay to make it a broadcast as opposed to live, and if you feel uncomfortable about it, just frame it as such, of why it's an upcoming webinar. Fantastic.
Holly asks, I'm a yoga teacher with an online membership.
Awesome.
It's $20 a month. And I'd like to use webinars to get people on my 2-week trial. How does this change when it's so much lower than the $297 model?
So let me give you some free consulting, all right? Don't sell that on a webinar, all right? Instead, go to your existing customers and say, I'm thinking about putting together a system on how to blank. So whatever is a big challenge you notice your user base is facing. Say, if I were to put together such a system, would you be interested in it if the investment of this system was between this price and that price? This is what you're asking your audience. So you're going to tell them, hey, I've noticed a lot of you struggle with blank, who are in the members area, membership site, whatever. I want to put together a training specifically to solve this. If I did this, would you be interested in it? And would you be interested in investing if it was between this and this price? Now, here's what will almost always happen. Now, if your membership site totally sucks and nobody really likes you, you won't get any response. I'm assuming that's not the case here, right? They will say, yeah, I would totally do that, because it's hypothetical. Anybody will say, yes, I'll do that when they don't actually have to do that. So then here's what you do. You respond back the next day or 2 days later, and you say to that whole audience, you say to them, listen, everybody seems to be very interested, or the response was really massive. So here's what I did. I created a webinar where I am going to walk you through some of the things that I see that holds people back with this and some of the ways that you can get ahead with this over here, and it's free. Attend this live, and then at the end, I will show you this new program that we put together specifically if you would like to go further with us. If you do that. So our goal here isn't to try to fit a round peg into a square hole. Selling a $20 a month membership site on a webinar is not going to work. With rare exception. But the best webinar you could ever do is to your existing audience, because I don't care how good your $20 a month membership is, they will want to buy more from you simply because they know every time they pay you money, they get a good result, so it makes sense for them to pay you more money. My first webinar ever was on the back of a $19 product that I created. So I created this $19 12-step copywriting process. I shared every tiny little secret, nothing held back. And my audience says, Jason, I need more examples. Jason, I need to understand this a little bit better. Jason, I want to know more about this, this, and this. Jason, I have more questions. So I said, fine, I'm going to teach you the exact same thing again. But I'm going to do it live via webinars for $297. And more people bought at $297 than they did at $19. So there's your answer for you on that one. And then, by the way, when that works, bring it out to the front end and use that to acquire customers. Roll your continuity program into that with a free 30-day or 60-day trial, and you will simultaneously make more on the initial sale, and you'll increase your membership all in one fell swoop. It's kind of like we do this for a living, right?
It is, yeah. Yeah, it's like we've done this before. So a couple of quick questions I'll answer. So first one, Sean said about yesterday we didn't seem too keen on Facebook. Did he understand the message? We love Facebook. Don't make any mistake about it. And running paid traffic from Facebook is one of the most profitable things you can do. We just wanted to give many different ways yesterday so that you understood that it wasn't, your success wasn't only down to the ability to run paid traffic to cold audiences. And so that's why we had multiple ways yesterday for you to be able to fill your audiences. And Laurie asked about if it's evergreen, why would you have it every 15 minutes? And yesterday, Jason shared how even if you were doing a on-demand like replay, you want them to actually register because of the commitment it takes. Every click requires a commitment, which moves a buyer closer to the sale.
Well, so there's another reason too, AJ, because every time I've tested this, 15 minutes works the best. So here's the evolution. From an internet historian's perspective, because we've been doing this for a while, so we've seen the evolution of things over the years. Because at one point in time, you didn't make a replay available on a webinar. Oh, that was a faux pas. We only did them live, right? And then I broke that theory down. And then the other theory was like, on the replay page, we give them the add to cart button right away. And I said, no, we wait 15 minutes, and we destroyed another theory, right? So the theory on automated webinars used to be one a day. And then we say, what happens if you did, morning, noon, and night? Yeah, that worked better. And then somebody says, well, what happens if we do one every hour? And that worked better. And then somebody says, what about if we do one every half hour? And that worked better. And then what if we did one every 15 minutes? That worked better still. In fact, every 5 minutes is how we have our real estate agents do it. But most systems, they have trouble doing 5 minutes, and even more important to me, 288 webinars a day versus 96 webinars a day. I just like 96 better, but the reality is you do a large number of webinars because it makes you more money. If a webinar every 17 minutes made me more money than every 15 minutes, I would probably do that. But there comes a point where we say, it's good. You know, every quarter hour we're going to run a webinar and then it's done. And then we don't worry about the little minor, tiny little details. Yes, it'd be cool if we could whitelist webinars to only be between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. for these markets at these times. But there comes a point in time where you optimize for the few things that matters, and then you let all that other stuff, I mean, spoiler alert, it doesn't matter what the color of your add to cart button is, probably. It usually doesn't matter what the font choice and font size is on your landing page. It usually doesn't matter whether you did this or that. Most things don't matter. What matters is we have a vehicle that serves and provides value every 15 minutes for anybody anywhere around the world who can get to it, and you follow the structure of what we taught in the webinar, and then you have technology that doesn't fall apart as soon as you try to apply it, or that you don't have to like tie down and beat until it is into your submission because it's built by a tech company, not by a marketing company.
All right, next question from Tom. He says he has a product launch style workshop, multiple videos. Would the webinar work for that?
Oh, God.
I know you. I set this up because I knew you're going to love this question.
So here's the cool thing is any product launch that's working well will work even better with a webinar. Most people don't do webinars who do product launches because they like to hide behind the video camera. We can sit down and we can script every single word, we can shoot it, we can edit it, we can polish it, we can spend 6 months making this thing beautiful. And that makes people feel very comfortable. So that's why they do that, and they leave webinars in the dark, because that seems too scary to them. Given the choice between a product launch and a webinar, I will do a webinar. But trying to maximize for the most amount of profits is I will do one and then I will add the other one in. So if you already have a product launch, add a webinar to it. If you already have an effective webinar, put a product launch around it. Either way, you're going to win big. In fact, here's how we used to make deals with clients. I would come into them and make a deal with I'd make an offer to them. So I'd say, hey, listen, you just did this product launch. It's a month later. Every person who said no to your product launch, let me just try to monetize them to your same offer. But let me change the vehicle from a 3-step video sequence to a one singular webinar. We could practically repurpose those 3 videos into a webinar structure, and would you believe that we could add a 0 to whatever that launch does almost without fail. In many cases, we could double the size of the launch, because a lot of people make a mistake that if somebody said no, that means that they'll never say yes. When the reality is, a month later after they said no, coming back with a different vehicle in which to present your case in does 2 things. One, it gives them a complete new feeling, but the second thing is it shows you care enough about them that you're willing to come back and you haven't given up on them. So half of that is just a systematic approach of do it all. Do the product launch, throw the webinar in. You could even, at first, it doesn't have to be strategic. Cart closes and you can say, hey, listen, I think some of you should have invested in this who didn't. And that pisses me off. I've done this close before, right? I know there are more of you on this list who the very best thing you can do is buy this thing from me right now. But apparently I didn't say the right things, or you weren't in the right state of mind to say yes to that. So here's how we're going to reconcile that. I've created a brand new training where I go in depth, because I believe if you understand these things, then on your own this will help you, but then it will make you even more likely to consider my opportunity. But before I tell you about the opportunity, I'm going to show up and I'm going to blow your mind for 67 minutes. Go here, register for this webinar. Boom.
There we go.
I like it.
Great. So actually now I have a question for you guys. We've been together now for 3 days, and we made a pretty big promise at the beginning. So the question I have is, did we keep our promise? We said that we would pull back the curtain, we'd show you exactly how to use webinars to grow your business, even if you didn't have a list, or if you didn't have an audience right now. So if we kept our promise, let us know in the chat if you felt like this training has been valuable over the last 3 days. Give us some feedback there so we know, okay? Great. Here it comes. Well, I think we did a good job there. So let's keep going, because I promised at the start of today's presentation that I would share with you the special offer, right? So listen, I'm not going to try to get you all hyped up about this, and really, try to create a big to-do here. After all, you guys have been with us now for 3 days, so you've kind of heard all the success that we've had with webinars and our clients have had with webinars, and so you know what we've been saying can help you. So what I want to do is go over exactly what we've put together for you so you know how that can help you. And then if it's right, I want you to get it, and if it's not right, I don't want you to get it. Plain and simple. Really, no hype, no fanfare, no hard feelings. So the big question we've had coming in from a lot of people is, how do I get access to the live stream system? Right? How do we get the recordings? How do we get the slides, any worksheets that you guys are going to put together? Because as we said, we are going to sell this moving forward. And I have great news for you, because today we're going to give you access to the $990 training absolutely free. And again, just for those who maybe haven't been with us all 3 days, the live stream system, what we've gone over in this course is first went over structured message and offer, so you knew exactly what to say on your webinar so you can have the most profitable webinars possible. Then we went over automatic audiences. We showed you how to grow your own audience, how to leverage other people's audience, and how to use cold traffic to fill your webinars, and the most profitable way to do that. Along with the schedule and the webinar format. So, you've had everything you need. And then today we went over marketing and how to scale and automation, and we're going to show you the software here shortly on how to do that. And like I said, we want to give you this absolutely free. And the reason we're doing this, if you haven't figured it out by now, is because we've put together a very, very special offer called the Ultimate Webinar Jam Bundle. And the reason we're doing this is to launch Webinar Jam Ever Webinar 4.0. And so this bundle is going to literally give you the ability to take everything that we've talked about over the last 3 days and implement it in a step-by-step process, so that if you want to master the art of converting prospects into qualified leads and sales, attract more new clients and customers with credit card in hand ready to buy, and become the authority that can charge what you're truly worth, so you can build the foundation for a 7-figure lifestyle business and finally create the lifestyle you deserve and achieve the freedom to live your life on your own terms, all within the next 90 days, then we think the Ultimate Webinar Jam Bundle is going to be perfect for you. So here's what you're going to get. You're going to get training, you're going to get software, you're going to get resources, and you're going to get support to make sure you're able to make it all happen. So let's talk about the first thing you're going to get, which of course is Webinar Jam. But you're not just going to get a Webinar Jam account, you're going to get access for a full year to the Webinar Jam Enterprise level account. It's valued at $999. And that's not one of these fake prices. If you actually went to Webinar Jam right now to try to purchase this, this is a real world value of $999. And the reason we want you to have this is we want you to have all of the features and everything that comes with that. So, what you get as a Webinar Jam user, you get unlimited webinars, you get the ability to host webinars with up to 5,000 attendees, you get unlimited cloud storage, you get up to 5 co-presenters, so 6 presenters in total, you get 24/7 chat and email support, express webinar setup, pay-per-view events, visual landing page builder, one-click registration abilities, built-in autoresponder, engagement tools, conversion tools, attendee segmentation, and detailed analytics, so you know exactly how your webinars are performing, so you can make those adjustments as you go. With Webinar Jam, you're going to be able to eliminate the tech headaches and set up your webinars in less than 30 seconds with our Express Webinar Setup. It really does take no time at all as you go through that process. So you could be live automatically. We want to help you keep your audience engaged with the unique interactivity and conversion features that lead to more sales. So pop-ups and polls and surveys and those kind of features are all included. And then we want to help you put your brand front and center with your customizable registration pages, logos, emails, and more. You'll also be able to launch polls, get feedback, build relationships to turn more leads into customers, get reports on registrants, attendees, polling, engagement, and Q&A follow-up like we've been doing over these 3 days. And you also automatically get a recording of every session in the cloud as an HD high-definition MP4 file, so you can take that and automate it. You can easily connect Webinar Jam to all your favorite marketing automation tools as well. So if you are using other software, you can easily integrate with that and continue to leverage the power. However, with Webinar Jam, you're going to be able to get rid of a lot of different things. First thing you'll be able to get rid of is your Webinar Jam software, right? You're going to be able to get rid of landing page software. You're going to be able to get rid of any split test software you're using. Be able to get rid of your autoresponder. You can get rid of video hosting software. You can get rid of expensive programmers, expensive designers. You can get rid of your webmaster. All in all, saving you a whole bunch of money. That's what we love most about it. So if you're listening to me and you're like, AJ, that sounds great, but and many of you said earlier, I already have a WebinarJam account. And that's fine, because don't worry, what we're going to do is we'll upgrade your existing account to Enterprise and add a full year. So you'll get whatever you've got now, plus we'll upgrade it and give you a full year of Enterprise. So just to recap what you're going to get the live stream system valued at $999. You're going to get 1 year of WebinarJam Enterprise account valued at $999. So just that alone is a total value of $1,998. And I know what you're thinking, well, what about automated webinars? You guys have been going on and on about automated webinars. So, how are we going to do that? Well, we're also going to give you 1 year EverWebinar account, okay? And that's valued at $499. Again, that's real world value. You can go to everwebinar.com now and try to purchase, and just this alone costs $499, right? So again, real world value. And what EverWebinar allows you to do is you can host automated, hybrid, or on-demand webinars all in one place, right? So it allows you to do that. You can effortlessly convert your live webinars from WebinarJam at a push of a button to evergreen with just one click. You can automatically tag and segment your attendees based on their individual webinar behavior. And you can engage your audience with live chat simulation to boost interaction and make your events appear live. You can also have a chat room open where you have team members sitting there answering questions live. So if you don't want a simulation, you can actually have a real chat room with real interaction as you go. And of course, that means what you're getting today is the live stream system at $999. You're getting WebinarJam Enterprise account for 1 year, value $999. You're getting the 1 year EverWebinar access, which is valued at $499, which brings that total value to $2,497, right? So normally you would have to pay $2,497, but today only $499, and there should be a button that pops up and you can click that. So I know what you're probably thinking, that's great, but what is WebinarJam? What is EverWebinar? What does it look like? So let's go ahead and take a look at this powerful software. The voice of, you've probably heard if you've watched any tutorials from us or any videos before, the voice is Elliot. He does a lot of our trainings, and so he's going to take you behind the scenes and show you exactly what you're getting today.
WebinarJam has all the essentials that you need in a webinar platform, like live chat and full moderation capabilities, so you and your team can manage webinars from a few people to thousands strong. Or how about a file sharing system to upload and share documents directly with your attendees? With the click of a button, the file appears right in the room for your attendees to download. If you've set up the perfect slides for your presentation, WebinarJam not only lets you display them right from the sidebar with stunning transition effects, but using the whiteboard feature, you can draw and write notes directly on top of whatever you are displaying. Even better are the ways that you can directly interact with your attendees. Not only can you chat in real time, but you can invite them to join live as a presenter with our Attendee Spotlight feature. All they do is raise a hand and they are brought into the webinar with video and audio right alongside you. WebinarJam was designed from the ground up by marketers for marketers, so it is a platform that will work hard for your sales. When it comes time to sell your product, pop up an offer directly into the chat so customers can click to visit your shopping cart and buy immediately. Not selling fast enough? Add a countdown timer to your offer, and attendees will know this is a limited time offer, so they have to act fast. Double down on this with the scarcity feature, which tracks your sales and ticks away available units as attendees buy them up. What if, God forbid, something goes wrong with your webinar room, like your stream freezing or a loss of audio? Just hit WebinarJam's all-new panic button, and WebinarJam will seamlessly bring your attendees into a brand new room. Once your webinar is over, the follow-up is essential to keeping your new leads warm. Luckily, WebinarJam lets you send up to 10 post-webinar messages. Each message can be custom-tailored to the attendee's information as well as their behavior in the webinar. Did they watch the webinar? Thank them for their time. Did they watch but didn't buy? Offer a discount. Did they miss the webinar? Send the replay. With all of these features, maybe you nailed your presentation and your follow-up. That's where EverWebinar comes in. With the click of a button, you can turn your perfect pitch into an evergreen, always-on webinar. All of the same features are here, but the webinar is pre-recorded so you can fine-tune every detail. Maybe you want to add pre-written chat role. Luckily, the chat from your WebinarJam webinar has already automatically been added in. You can edit or delete whatever lines you like, and when the webinar is viewed, the chat will appear as if it were live. Chat in your EverWebinar room can still also be moderated by you. So if someone asks a question, you can be there with the answer while the recording takes care of the presentation itself. Alternatively, you can choose to disable the chat and replace it with a question box instead. Any messages typed now will be sent to an email address of your choice. This is the beauty of having both WebinarJam and EverWebinar. You can work on those new presentations while still airing the best ones you already did at the same time.
So now you've seen behind the scenes, you may recognize that you've actually been attending live with us on WebinarJam these last 3 days, and everything you've seen has been powered through WebinarJam. And we haven't used a lot of those features like surveys, like polls, and those kind of things, but you've been able to witness the power of WebinarJam. So, again, you might be sitting there and saying, well, this is fantastic, but what else do I need to be successful? What else do you need to be successful? And, I want you guys to have zero excuses. I want you to have a WebinarJam account. I want you to be crushing it like so many of our members are, so many of our clients are. And, by the way, we have over 63,000 customers now that have purchased WebinarJam who are using webinars. So, we know this isn't something that's new, right? It's been around, it's time tested, and it works. And that's the reality today. So what else do you guys need? I mean, you're getting the live stream system, you're getting access to webinar and automated webinar software, but what if I walked you through and held your hand every step of the way until the launch of your webinar? Does that sound like something that interests you? Well, we're going to be doing what's called the Webinar Genesis 6-week live intensive, where we're going to actually walk you through and to the point where your webinar is launched and live. And this is a live course, so it's going to be moldable along the way based on your guys' need. But we put together a rough outline. Week 1, we're going to show you how to create your irresistible offer so you know exactly what to sell on your webinar, how to create your bonuses and create scarcity and all the things that matter to create a powerful close. Week 2, we're going to show you how to pick the big idea or topic for your webinar so you know exactly what to talk about, and what's going to bring people in. What's the big hook that's going to capture them so that you can get people to register at the best rates possible. Week 3, we're going to go on to show you how to create the content or teaching points of your webinar. And this is really the meat and potatoes of the webinar, the thing that everybody comes for, that then gets them to open their arms and say, give me more, right? Week 4, we're going to walk you through how to create a bulletproof follow-up sequence so that you can make sales post-webinar, because as we've mentioned over these last 3 days, a lot of the sales come after the webinar, and Jason gave you his system in order to maximize that. Week 5, we're going to show you how to build your webinar funnel so you know exactly how to get the most out of your webinar. And week 6, we're going to pull back the curtain on the launch sequence so you can actually launch with success and actually get off to the races. And the best part about it, like I've mentioned, is we are going to be delivering this live, which means you'll have the opportunity to ask questions, get feedback, and work with us hand in hand to build out your webinar in real time. So that's what's going to happen during the 6-week intensive workshop. And real quick, I wanted to share this message from Rachel Luna. Here's what she said. She said, I took the chance and joined WebinarJam. It totally paid off. Not only is it super user-friendly, but it was also a vital tool in my recent launch. We generated over 52,000 sales on the first launch, and more than 50% of that came directly from sales while on the webinar. And I'm not saying that you're going to have the same success. In fact, I'm not saying you're going to have any success at all. So, this could not work whatsoever. But this is the kind of stuff we see inside our WebinarJam community all the time. So you may be thinking, well, who does this work for, right? Who does this work for? I can tell you now, it works for coaches, it works for consultants, it works for course creators, it works for digital marketers, it works for freelancers, it works for SaaS companies, it works for service providers, and a whole bunch more of other people, right? So it's probably going to work for you too. And again, let's go through what you're going to get, right? You get the live stream system valued at $999. You get 1 year access to the WebinarJam Enterprise account valued at $999. You get 1 year EverWebinar account valued at $499. And again, these are real world retail prices. This isn't some fictional thing that we've just made up. And then you're going to get access to Webinar Genesis, the live 6-week intensive valued at $2,997, bringing your total value you're going to get today to $5,494. And again, today's investment is just $499. So go ahead and click that button if you know this is something for you. But I'm not done yet, because I mean, what else would you need to succeed? Well, how about the Ultimate Webinar Success Kit, right? This comes with the $4 million webinar blueprint. This is the blueprint that it comes with slides and a script, so that if you're sitting there freaking out saying, you guys given me it, but I don't know how to put it all together, well, this does exactly that. You're also going to get the 12 Webinar Secrets report, and this is a report made up. We did a series of interviews with the biggest webinar hosts in the world.
Yep.
Jason was a part of that, and we put that into a report revealing the 12 biggest secrets that those interviews series revealed to us. We also have the 17 ways to increase your conversions report. It will show you how to maximize sales and make the most profit. We're going to give you the 40 ways to fill a webinar ebook. So if you don't like any of the ways we shared yesterday on how to build an audience, well, we got 40 more ways for you to fill your webinar. All right? We're going to give you the step-by-step marketing plan so that you actually have the plan in front of you to stick to and build your webinar business. And we're going to give you the 6 fast ways webinars can grow your business manual, so that you can use webinars not just for selling products, but also for delivering training and services and things like that. So total value of that is $734, and that brings everything what you're getting today: the live stream system, the 1 year WebinarJam Enterprise account, the 1 year EverWebinar account, Webinar Genesis 6-week live intensive, the Ultimate Webinar Success Kit. All together comes to a total value of $6,228. Now, if all this did was to finally help you build your webinar that profits, converts leads into sales, is that worth $6,228? Well, it should. So it should be, because every webinar you build costs something, right? And the ROI just exceeds anything you can put into it. And once it's done, it really is like an ATM machine. You put in traffic, you get qualified leads, sales, and profits back. So most people would happily pay $6,228 for this. If all it did was to help you attract a steady flow of qualified leads who show up to your webinars engaged and ready to buy, is that worth $6,228? Most people would say, heck yeah. And if all I did today was give you predictability in your business so you can focus on delivering results for your clients or your customers, and not only your marketing, is that worth $6,228? I think it is. Because here's the thing: if you don't have predictability in your business, meaning your income is sporadic, and you don't know how much money you're going to make from one month to next, you really don't have a business. You have a hobby, but not anymore. This system will give you the dependability you've been seeking, so that you can focus on doing what you do best, which is serving your clients and customers and actually making a difference in people's life. So yeah, I'd happily pay $6,220.
I have paid more than that when I started, yeah.
So let me ask you another question. What would you pay for just one webinar that profitably converts leads into sales? A few moments ago, you heard about Rachel, who did $52,000 in revenue for her first webinar.
I think the slide's stuck, Sassy. Can we advance that one forward?
No, you have to advance on your end.
We have. Are we held up here?
Sorry?
It's froze.
Let me come back to you for a second.
Yeah, cut it back to us. All right, so what would one webinar be worth to you? So earlier I discussed and I gave you a couple scenarios. Now I firmly believe most of you will underestimate the value of what a webinar is actually worth to you. That's okay. So if one single webinar to you is worth more than $499, then this is better than free for you to invest here today. And the easiest way to invest is to click that button that is going to be surrounding you, depending on what your device is that you are on this webinar here right now. So what's awesome about this, and we got more for you, of course we got more for you, because we're in the business of giving you a deal so good that you have to say yes to it, because saying no would be more costly than saying yes. Now, by the way, pay attention to how we're doing this, because this is something that you can do as well. And it doesn't have to be as fancy as we are. In fact, it's fun for us to do this, but we have 63,000 people inside of WebinarJam. So what we ultimately have to do is make the software work for you regardless of where you're at and where you want to go. So if you are a coach, boom, we make sure it works for coaches. If it's a consultant, boom, make sure it works for consultants. If it's a physical product, it's a digital product, all of this is taken care of for you on what actually matters. Because I can't stress this enough. It's not just the webinar, because you can join an e-learning course online from some weird university that's virtual, and they will do webinars, right? And you can use teleconferencing companies who kind of just tacked in webinars as an afterthought, and you are doing supposedly webinars, right? Or you can use old dinosaur era webinar technology that was leading at one point in time when there was no alternatives, and that is a webinar. But what we really want is a marketing machine that's designed to engineer the most value for our clientele, to attract the best clients and then convert those clients, all while you don't have to develop ulcers trying to figure out tech or trying to hack something or trying to cobble a bunch of stuff together with duct tape and MacGyvering some sort of solution, pushing buttons and just making it run. Just on the EverWebinar site alone, I have never seen a software for automated webinars that didn't require $50,000 of custom programming and 26 hours of geek speak in order to accomplish what EverWebinar can do with a push of a button. That's what you would pay for EverWebinars, $4.99 if you signed up, just if you were the public. But you're not the public, you're special, so you get a special offer. Why are you special? You've been here today with us. You've been on this journey. Almost everybody has stuck from day 1, 2 hours and a half, day 2, 2 more hours, day 3, who knows how far we're going to go here today. So you've been with us. You've taken a chance on us. We want to take a chance on you. We're hooking you up. You can find that button. You can sign up. And AJ, I think you got some more stuff to say, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, earlier you asked about if people had platforms, and some people said they had. So I want to look at some of the other platforms, because to do what we're giving you the power to do with the enterprise level accounts with EverWebinar, other platforms charge anywhere from $30,000 to $150,000 per year for less features, and you don't get any training, you don't get any tools, and there's no coaching to help you get your webinar out the door. You can go take a look. We took a screenshot trying to match the features we have right there. $30,000 for GoToMeeting, $150,000 for Zoom to be able to have the same features that you're getting with WebinarJam. So I'm sure you'll agree, if we charged, $19.97 for this, it would be a great deal. But as we've said over and over again, you can get started today for just one payment of $4.99, and that saves you $1,000 per year off the retail price of the software. So even without everything else, you're saving $1,000 just on the software alone, which is absolutely incredible. Other people have paid much more of that, and they're very happy to along the way. So that link, you can go to the URL, you can click the button on the screen. We'll add that link inside the chat so you don't have to go anywhere. But if you're ready to get started today, go ahead and hit that. Because really you have two choices. Right? Choice number one, you can go at this on your own, all alone, and spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to figure this stuff out. I mean, that's what it cost you, maybe five to 10 years, maybe longer, I'm not sure. But we don't want you to have to do that. So choice number two is you can learn the proven system from a team of experts who have done not only for themselves, but also have taught over 65,000 others to do it successfully. That choice is yours, right? If you don't want to learn, you can go ahead and click that X and you can head out of here. But this is really a risk-free investment, 100%. And here's why, right? Normally we do a 30-day money-back guarantee, but we've actually put together the 90-day success partnership guarantee. So when you join today, you'll finally have someone, a partner in your business, someone who will have your back and ensure that you take the necessary steps to succeed. Your responsibility is just going to be to show up, right? Show up for the 6-week training, to read, to watch, to implement everything we teach you so that you know what you need and you can get out the door. When you do that, our team will provide you with the very best training and support possible, and we'll pull out all the stops to make sure you finish that line, finish across the finish line.
In first place, too, nonetheless, right?
So, and I guarantee if you follow the steps in the program, implement the advice that we've shared, you will launch your first profitable webinar within the first 60 days. If not, we'll work with you to create a course correction plan to break down the exact things you need to do to take your webinar and make it a success. And after implementing it, you know, if within the first 90 days, you haven't launched your first webinar, you can ask for a full refund and we'll give you that, right? So the real question we have is, you have to ask yourself, is it worth taking just a few minutes of your time to check this out and to see if it will work for you? You know, even if it does half of what we've claimed, during this 3 days of training, it will pay for itself just as you launch your first webinar. And I do have a warning. We mentioned scarcity many times. This is only available until midnight Sunday, February 9th. And the reason for that is that's when we're switching over WebinarJam to WebinarJam 4.0 to the public. And to get this moving forward, it would cost you $1,500 just to get what we're giving you. And that's just for the software. That doesn't include everything we've walked through. So let's talk about the most important component yet. Right? Most people join programs, learn the steps, and give up as soon as they get stuck. And people fail really for two reasons. Number one, it's the environment. Their friends or their family don't understand what they're trying to do. They doubt them, and they aren't supportive, right? Reason number two is lack of expert guidance. Most programs fail to provide them with the support they need to preserve in the face of adversity and truly do whatever it takes to succeed. See, success thrives in an environment of support, but withers and dies in an environment without it. I know exactly what that feels like because I spent years surrounded by family and friends who were all underachievers and kept me down. Once I started hanging out with successful people, I too became successful. See, you need a community of people that speak the same language and are on the same mission as you. You need to be around people that lift you up and encourage you, not bring you down. That's why we created the Webinar Mastermind community. See, our mastermind community has over 35,000 members, 11 certified professionals, and it's where you can get access to help 24/7. So you get 4 monthly live Q&A calls where you can ask any questions about webinars you wish, right? You can ask questions inside the group and get help 24/7. You can get help with your sales funnels, grab an accountability partner, you can get emotional support if you want it, and you can meet new affiliates and JVs, people who may be interested in promoting your content to their audience. So let's take a quick look inside. You can see here, we have over 35,000 members, not to mention the 2,000 posts, comments, and reactions that happened just in the last 28 days alone. So the engagement in the group is absolutely huge, and it's a huge key to your success. That's over 35,000 people doing and succeeding at this exact same thing, and more than willing to help you succeed at all. So just to recap what you're getting today, okay? It's a total value of $6,725. You're getting the live stream system valued at $999. You're getting 1 year of WebinarJam Enterprise account valued at $999. You're getting 1 year of Ever Webinar account valued at $499. You're getting access to the Webinar Genesis 6-week live intensive valued at $2,999. The Ultimate Webinar Success Kit valued at $734. And you're getting access to the Private Webinar Mastermind valued at $497. So that's the deal. And today, you can grab it for just $499. So I'm sure we have questions, Jason, as we always do.
As we always do, yes. And we'd be happy to answer them. So I know we're going to flag some here, and I'm going to take them on as well, because I've been this has been fun for me, because I get to come in here, do what I love to do, which is train and to help people, and I have a system that I can put them through, because I don't know how to build the clock, but I can look at it and tell you the time. And so AJ and WebinarJam, they have the platform, they have the clock, and now we're telling you the time. And the time is to invest right now, by the way, at webinarjam.com/special to get signed up and to get started. And you can get started very quickly, very easily. $499 is a time-limited special offer. You are getting 10 times as much for essentially 1/3 of the investment. And so we do this because we don't want you to squander all of this knowledge, insight, and power and value that we've built up for you over the last couple of days. So we helped you get going in the right direction. We got you excited. We got you motivated. We got you eager. We gave you specifics, and you could do everything that we taught you on your own. I have no doubt that given enough time and effort and enough of just sheer willpower, right, you can make it work on your own. But the question is that worth saving $499 in order to make that happen? I don't think it is. Now, I do understand, though, that some of you have some questions that are going to help push you into the yes territory or into no, not right now territory. And so since we're here live together and since we're jamming and hanging out, why don't we take these on? Let's see what's going on. What is the real tough questions, AJ, that is holding people up to not know what to do right now?
James asked, he says a $60 dog supplement.
Yes.
So is it worth running webinars?
Only if your customers would be better customers with the right information. And so here's what I know, being a dog enthusiast, I spend more money on my dogs than I do on my children, I swear, right? Is what supplement should I take? I'm assuming you sell more than one supplement or could sell more than one supplement. Maybe you could sell a bundle of supplements. So some people don't necessarily need to buy it one time. Maybe they need the monthly continuity program. But why should I buy your supplement? Why is your supplement different than somebody else's supplement? You can empower me as a consumer to better understand what makes your supplement powerful. Now, if you say nothing makes my supplement powerful, Jason, that's okay. Here's a little trick for you. Find the best dog expert that you can find. Pay them for an hour of their time. Hint, it will be less than $100 an hour. And I'm talking world-class, best-in-class expert. Sit down and interview them. Use that and create that as a bonus. Then when you do a webinar, you say, here are the 7 insights and secrets by one of the top dog nutritionist experts in the whole wide world. You break that down on a webinar and you say, boom, we're going to give you the full training that we did with this person if you buy more than one bottle of these supplements. So in that particular case, whatever you're making per transaction on your supplements or however you're marketing, if you do what I just described there, I would bet you could get customers cheaper, and they would spend more money with you, and they would spend money more often. But again, don't take my word for it, right? Just like you don't buy the car before test driving, and just like you don't buy the house before doing the walkthrough, right? You don't have to buy into everything we're saying today. You just have to take a step forward, and that step forward is to sign up, webinarjam.com/special, try it out. And if it ain't for you, we'll be happy to make it right with you because we're pretty confident that we can only scratch the surface of today of what's possible.
Yeah, and I just want to congratulate those of you who have moved forward with us. Carol, Anthony, Alan, Polio, Donald, Diane, Shannon, Madeline, Peter, Dennis, David, and more are coming in. So we'll keep updating that. So fantastic stuff. All right, so here we go. Let's get back to some of these questions. Man.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't want anybody to be intimidated when you hear there are 63,000 WebinarJam users, because sometimes the idea is, oh my God, I guess webinars are now saturated, or I can't make webinars work, or won't my competition be also doing this? And that's an interesting perspective, but it's one that typically keeps people impoverished. First of all, there are 7-point-some-odd billion people that exist on this planet, right? So there are a lot of people out there. And no matter what we do or attempt to do to saturate the world with webinar users, we fail. Fail miserably, by the way, because I sit in the top internet marketing conferences in the world, and I speak at the largest internet marketing stages in the world, and I will tell you, the average person's disposition to webinars is they are allergic to them. They don't want to do them. They look at them as too hard. The technology demystifies them because, unfortunately, nobody in that space has heard of WebinarJam, no matter our best efforts, right? Or they're scared, or they think webinars don't work anymore, blah, blah, blah. Right? So we call those people losers. Let's just be very clear here what we call them. Because I don't look at it from the perspective of, oh, I just want to do what I want to do. I say, what can help my customers better than the next person? Because if I want to make more money than my competition, I need to outvalue my competition. We use webinars to outvalue our competition, because while everybody else is saying, give me money and then I'll do something for you, you could say, let me do something for you first by doing a webinar for you on your behalf. And then, after I do something for you first, then you can decide if you want to return the favor. And unfortunately, it's a mindset thing. It's not a technology thing. There are people that will just not be okay with doing that. So therefore, those of you who embrace this, there are never enough of us. And there is plenty of room for us. And in fact, I hope all of you crush it, because I'm looking for more webinars to promote. I have to work hard to find the right webinars to put in front of my audiences. And I want to do that because a webinar is first and foremost valuable to your audience. Wouldn't you agree we were valuable to you over the last 3 days? We did 3 webinars, right? Now, secondly, though, a webinar is the most profit-getting activity I know of. So if you have a killer webinar with a killer offer, bring it over to my list. If it's a good fit, we'll split the profits 50-50, and we'll split the goodwill 50-50. My challenge is I have trouble finding those. I have to work extra hard. I'm looking under rocks, and I'm climbing trees, and I'm breaking out the binoculars. And I'm sure, AJ, you're experiencing something similar. The loneliest thing in the world is a good webinar run on a solid platform. And so we are ridding the world of that by adding a few more of you in who are ready to go here today. And if you're not ready to go, you can come back later, but you will pay more and you will get less because of your inaction. And that's how it should be. WebinarJam.com/special. Get going right now.
Yeah, lots of people are asking about the discount. There's a $1,000 discount on the software. Is it lifetime? Yes. So $4.99 is the investment today, and every year you'll be rebilled that price to remain a member with the software. So that means that forever you'll save $1,000 per year as long as you remain a customer. So you get both WebinarJam and EverWebinar for $4.99 forever as long as you remain a customer. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, you get locked in at the special pricing. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you're required to stay in forever. If you're making more money, stay in. Simple as that. If you're not, then it's not going to hurt my feelings. I don't think it's going to hurt your feelings, right, AJ?
Nope.
But here's the cool thing is you will be grandfathered in at that deal for as long as you stay a member in good standing. So, but let's not worry about what's going to happen next year. Let's worry about what's going to happen next month. Are you now going to be able to do it better than you ever could do it because you're armed with the training, the support, the community, the insights, the templates, the tools, the technology to go out there and put everything into action? And I think you and I both know the answer to that question.
Yeah. So a lot of people are asking about integrations. What does it integrate with? Am I able to keep my other platforms that I have? Absolutely, we integrate with everything. We like to think of ourselves as Switzerland, so we make sure we connect and are compatible with all the other platforms. So if you are using platforms like Kartra, for example, for other areas of your business, you don't have to get rid of that. What we're saying is that if you don't have those other platforms, you won't need to go get them. WebinarJam comes with registration page ability. It comes with email autoresponder abilities. So if you currently don't have anything else, you can get started. You don't have to go out and buy other things. So we're not going to add to that cost. But if you are using Kartra or any of the other software out there to run your business, this integrates seamlessly with it. It's completely separate, but it integrates seamlessly with those other platforms so you can continue to use those and get the benefit out of those. So great question. Another question. I have a bunch of video trainings I've put together. Can I use those for my EverWebinars?
You could, right? But I would rather use those for the fulfillment and then build a webinar around those videos to sell those videos. Now, one of the things that EverWebinar does really well that other platforms don't do so well, and even WebinarJam itself does. I don't know if you noticed this earlier, but we played a demonstration video. That was a pre-recorded video that we piped into this live webinar. Try doing that with other technology. They say they can do it, kind of. Some of them don't even say they can do it because they can't do it, but I've never seen anybody do it as seamlessly as how WebinarJam does it. So you can make a best of, you can clip little tidbits and little teasers of the course. But ultimately, here's the thing is, before somebody wants to learn from you, they have to feel like you are worthy of being learned from. And that's why we want to do the free webinar, to show them in advance that you're worthy of that, and then sell them into the video training as well. But again, I would rather be rich than right. Try a both. Put it in front of your customers and let them vote with their wallets, and then just back the winner.
So well, I want to say more welcome people joining us. Clinton, Sonia, Linda, George, John, Michael, Jim, and Aino. Some of you guys' names are so unique. I know I'm butchering them. I apologize for that. But what beautiful names you guys have. So welcome to the group. So another question. I'll go to those in a minute. I'm trying to think here.
Yeah, don't be shy, by the way, because the worst question to ask is the one that you only ask yourself, but don't ask us. This is an opportunity for you, and it's not going to hurt my feelings if you ask me a hard question. In fact, I enjoy the hard questions because we usually find those are the ones that make the biggest difference.
Dee asks, does she have full ownership over her webinars, and then can she package them up and sell them? Absolutely. You own all of your content. We don't own any of it. We're not going to take any of your webinars. We're not going to use any of your webinars. One cool feature I don't think we mentioned is we do have the webinar marketplace, which is like webinar on demand marketplace, which will list your webinars if you're running them, and you can find other people's webinars as well. So if you want to make your webinars public and open it up for other people to see and register, you can. So we do have that feature, but you 100% own your webinars. You can do whatever you want with them. If you want to package them up and sell them, we absolutely encourage you to do that. One of the best things you can do is exactly what we're going to be doing with the live 6-week intensive. We're going to be running the live 6-week intensive with you. You'll get the Q&A calls. You get all the feedback. We'll maybe adjust the course along the way. We'll add stuff in. I already actually have a couple of people lined up to do some bonus calls on some of the topics that you may be interested, like traffic, like JV connection, those kind of things. So with that said, what you would want to do is we're going to run the course for 6 weeks, then we're going to take those recordings and we're going to put them into a membership site so you get access to them ongoing, but then we can package and sell that moving forward, all right? So someone asked, Holly, you asked, when does the live training start? We're going to get a date on that as soon as possible. It's going to probably start next week, if not the week after. So it will get started right away. As far as the recordings from the live stream system, someone said, when do we get access to that? So hopefully you'll get almost immediate access. We'll need some time to get today's content uploaded, but that should be, by tomorrow, you guys should have access to that, so you start going back through that.
AJ, one thing I wanted to state here is the reason why we really decided to do this is because WebinarJam is completely built up again from the ground up, 4.0. So the whole team took everything that was amazing about WebinarJam 3.0, and then they polished it, they perfected it, they strengthened it, they took the best and made it even better, right? So you are getting essentially a brand new platform. You are getting something that has never before been touched, and that's one of the reasons why we're celebrating and kicking it off with a great deal. And so, of course, it's been battle tested, it's been proven, it's been even optimized further out of all the usage that has been done. But I don't think this should be understated. You are not getting a version that has been sitting there for the last several years that hasn't been updated and improved. You are getting the brand new version. You're getting the update, and this is a software that does get updated. It is a software that has a community that stands behind it. It is something that continually improves because guess what is being used today? We eat our own dog food, right? It has to work for us, and then of course it will work for you as well. So you are stepping into a freshly new painted coat of paint, new software smell situation, and you are also getting new training to go with it, and you're getting the best of what works amazing, and you're getting the new functionality and power in the engine. We put a brand new engine in this thing, so it's going to run even stronger, faster, and better for you.
And I promise you this price is only going to be available until Sunday. There is no other way in the future to get this. We will not be offering it again at such a low price because of how such amazing a deal is. And it is to celebrate the launch of 4.0. So we had to do something special. You always have to do something special when you do a launch. One of the questions that came in from Nora was, can I run paid webinars? Because we mentioned that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I want to state that again, right? So the challenge with a webinar is it's how many ways can I make money with it, right? And you could do this, and you could do that, and you could do this, and you could do that. It's kind of like the opposite of green eggs and hams. Like you can make money in a car, you can make money in a tree, you can make money from afar, you can make money up close, right? So we taught the model yesterday about selling a webinar. So $25 to come to this webinar that's upcoming this Thursday, and then we use the Thursday webinar to sell a series of future webinars. And so WebinarJam has that gated content functionality to where the user is required to pay first before they can get access to the webinar. And that can be run on a completely closed system inside of WebinarJam, which is really awesome. And it's something that other platforms lack in functionality. Now, one thing I also wanted to point out here is we live what we teach. So remember earlier when we taught you the best thing to sell on a webinar is a series of future webinars? Well, guess what we're offering you today is a series of future webinars with Webinar Genesis. So be very, very, very like Sherlock Holmesy in seeing exactly how we're doing. And hey, did you like what we did? Didn't it make sense? Wasn't it comfortable? Wasn't it powerful? So we are not asking you to do anything that we haven't done. We're just asking you to do it easier than we did it for less than we had to do it, because to AJ's point earlier, we ran a platform with Tony Robbins on a webinar, and it cost the equivalent of that $150,000 a year investment that he showed you earlier on a platform that shall not be named. So there are other companies that surely will take more money from you and deliver less, but the best thing we can do is not allow you to go to them and go with us instead at webinarjam.com/special.
Yeah, so more people have come on board. Tracy, Glenn, Rudy, Jenny, Marty, Sherry, Deborah, Paul, and Hakon. So welcome everyone. Man, we're getting a lot of people jump in. Fantastic. I'm very excited for you and what this is going to do for you and your business. So one of the question is, is there a whiteboard feature? Absolutely, there is definitely a whiteboard feature. They said they do trainings and things like that. So
I love the whiteboard feature, yeah.
We love webinars to sell things, and we don't think there's anything better, but we also love webinars to deliver trainings. And so the features in WebinarJam have been designed so not only can you transact in the best way possible, that buy button you see right now, that isn't seen anywhere else. That's what allows you to have someone click that and purchase, right? And then the other features we have involved are things like the whiteboard, the surveys, the feedback, the Q&A polls, those kind of things. So as you're doing your training, you can ask questions, you can get responses, you can deliver training whichever format you want, and really make it the best experience for your clients, but also what's most comfortable for you. One of the questions come in and say, I hate being on camera. Do I have to be on camera to do a webinar? Tell them what you were saying the other day. They may have missed that.
Okay, so first of all, this is a very rare scenario for me to actually be on a camera. I prefer not to be on camera for two reasons. Reason number one is I don't want to be the center of your attention. I want my slides, the information, to be the center of attention. I have found that seems to be more impactful. People that only use live use it typically like a crutch. If that's how you build trust with somebody, by looking into a camera, it's the least effective way to build trust. So that's the first reason. But the second reason is I find it distracting, because I want to focus on the message and the offer. I don't want to necessarily focus on everything that surrounds that. Now, AJ solved that problem for me. We have a whole crew here, and we have all kinds of fancy lights and all sorts of, look at the studio. See, they cut right there. They got a TriCaster rocketed rolling. We got mics, and we got this, and we got lights, and we got that. And that's pretty sweet. And I aspire all of you to build up to it one day. But when I started with webinars, I started with a slide deck, a PowerPoint slide deck, and a $35 Logitech, and a screen share functionality. And 9 times out of 10 for most webinars that I do, that is what we stay with, because it is the simplest way to get our message in front of people and see how it resonates. And if it works good, we come back and we do it again. But it's really interesting when we do webinars like this here with the WebinarJam's 4.0 celebration launch special, right? We feel like we got a class to join up, right? Because we got to be market leaders, and we have 63,000 people that are following us. So we like to show you the full extent of what's possible, just so you can see what you can do and aspire to. But for most of you, I'm going to tell you this: please just go out with a slide deck. Don't even turn your webcam on. Make some money first, and then you can test it against, well, what happens if I'm live, or what happens if I add in this function or this thing or that thing. But before there was all this in the studio, there was somebody making money first by solving problems and by selling products via webinars and via platforms. And then you add this in, all this in due time. But yeah, give me a slide deck and an incredible offer, and I'm on my way.
You'll love this one from Sig. Will webinars work just as well for people not in the United States?
Yeah, absolutely. So this, and by the way, this is a lesson in and of itself. This is why I love this business so much. So I'm not sure if that individual was here yesterday or not, but we literally showed an example outside of the United States of exactly how we were using webinars, a whole model. And even further than that is, I have worked with clients who their whole strategy is taking what works in the States and then bringing it overseas. I'll even do you one better. We have done it where literally I've done a webinar speaking to an audience that doesn't understand a lick of English and still did it live with 0 translations. And you're like, why would you do it that way? Well, because I'm in a live environment. It's capturing the intensity and the excitement of it live, and then they localized it later, and then they translated it later. And so, yeah, you absolutely should. The rest of the world is typically 5 to 7 years behind the United States in terms of digital marketing and internet technology. So the greatest way you can time travel is you take today's technology and you import it into these other markets, and then you are wide open to serve, sell, and prosper.
This next question from Paul says, is there a limit to how many webinars you can launch in a year? And so the only limit you have is you can't run 2 webinars live simultaneously with WebinarJam, and I believe every webinar has an every 15-minute rule, which means that you can run about, I think it's 35,000 webinars per year. So if that's not enough,
then just buy a second account.
Yeah. And actually, funny enough, that's what Neil Patel did, is how we actually saw the how important the every 15 minutes was, because every webinar when we version 1 didn't have that, right? Like you said, most people were just running one ever webinar a day. Neil Patel, we saw, he was a customer, and we couldn't figure out why he had so many accounts. And what we realized was he had the accounts running so he could run one every 15 minutes through that. And so we figured we might as well build that in, as guys like yourself and him were doing that, and that's how we got that feature in Ever Webinar. So another great question. So someone asked about whether there's a payment plan. Yeah, if you head over to the link webinarjam.com/special, you can see that payment plan. And just like the $4.99, that is an annual commitment as long as you remain a member. So what I'm saying is we've given you a 90-day guarantee here versus the 30-day guarantee, because we want to see you get through and launch your webinars, right, and start to actually use webinars to grow your business as a very profitable part of your business, if not the only part of your business.
Right.
Many people are running webinars because what they're doing is webinars to get sales, webinars to deliver training. So their entire business is centered around webinars, and that could be you too. And so, if by the end of the 90 days it hasn't worked out and you've done everything we've said, we'll go ahead and refund you. However, if it's working and you're being successful, our hope is that you can continue on annually. However, you can cancel at any time. There's no lifetime obligation here. You're only obligated to sign up for the first year, and if at the end of the year you say, hey, this isn't for me, it's not something I want to do, you guys can go ahead and cancel. Of course, you'll lose the special, which is $4.99 today. For those of you asking, what happens after Sunday if I don't purchase? Well, the price is $1,500. It's going to be $9.99 to get your WebinarJam Enterprise account, and it's going to be $4.99 to get your Ever Webinar account, and then all the other bonuses are gone. So you won't have an opportunity to get them again, and we'll be selling them separately moving forward. And Jason and I have been talking about the different things we're going to do with that content to maximize it in terms of profits for ourselves. So this offer is just for you guys as you've been with us for the last 3 days. It's $4.99 until Sunday at midnight, so you can take advantage of that. And we hope to see you come across. So let's see what other questions we've been getting in here. So Laurie asks, can we address all the components available in WebinarJam? Laurie,
we do not have the time to do that here.
Yeah, I kind of went over them a little bit earlier. However, if you want, you can go to webinarjam.com. You can see everything that comes with WebinarJam, and then go back to that link and take advantage of that.
Yeah, let's be very
offers.
clear here. It's not the components that make this a good deal, right? It's the full engine. If we broke down the whole vehicle and we pieced and parted it apart and just said this part does this and this part does that, that's not going to be too helpful to you. So it's not the components that matter. What do you want to accomplish? And does WebinarJam have the power in order for you to accomplish that? That's the real question that you have to ask yourself. Now, I know it feels good when it says it does this and it does that and it does this and it does that and it does this and it does that, and that's great, but does it do the one thing that's going to make the difference for everything for you? And I will bet dollars to donuts that, in fact, it does do that one thing. And then here's what I want each and every single one of you to experience, because I know I've seen your future, people like you who have signed up for deals like this. I know exactly what's going to happen. Once you get under the hood, you're like, whoa, it also does that? Whoa, I didn't know about that. I want to give you that. I don't want to rob you of that extra Christmas present under the tree that was pushed to the back that you didn't see at first, and oh cool, I got another one. And we have a lot of that hanging out in there for you, but you don't need to know the full deal in order to get started today. Here's the only thing you need to know. We are giving you a deal that will not be repeated. We are giving you multiple things that on their own are more retail value $4.99 than this is. We're tripling the guarantee, and we're doing this only after we did 2.5 days of training, so you better than anybody understand the power of what you have here. And that's all you need to know to go to webinarjam.com/special and get started right now. However you need to get there, whether it's pushing that button, clicking a link, going there, right? Go there right now, get signed up, and then let's go.
Fantastic, and welcome to Jim, Herbert, Seamus, Amelia, and Lloyd, who have also joined us. Very, very cool. Lots of great people. So, question, a couple of WebinarJam, you guys are WebinarJam users, and you've asked, like, what happens? As I mentioned earlier, you'll be upgraded, and this will be added to your account. So whatever you have, so let's say you're a WebinarJam user, you've been with us for the last 6 months, all right? We're going to upgrade your account. We're going to add it for a year, so you're not going to get, nothing's going to be rebuilt until the end of that period, and then you'll get rebuild at the special price that we've done today. Now, we may have to finagle some things on the back end. I'm sure the dev team is not going to be happy when I tell them this is what we're doing, but we will figure it out for you. So
you'll get taken care of.
Yeah, make sure, if you take advantage, you let us know. You can let us know in the chat, and we'll take your name, and we'll make sure we'll check in the back end, and we'll make sure you guys are taken care of. Trust us, we want to take care of you. We want to make sure you get access to this training, as well as the special bonuses that we've mentioned.
Yeah, now just to put it in its proper context too, AJ, is many of you, tell me if this is true, you have invested in just a course that's more than $4.99. Just a course. That's it. Just a training. And was it a good deal? Most of the times, if it was a reputable company that was offering it to you and it came from a place of value, it was an incredible deal. But just to be very clear here, that's not what we're doing today. We're not offering you just a course. You do get a course. You also get live coaching, group coaching over a 6-week period of time. And most of you have paid more than $4.99 for that and have been happy to be invested in something like that. We're also giving you not one software, but 2 software. And most of these software on their own, in fact, these ones retail, and most of them retail for even more than what WebinarJam or EverWebinar retails for. And you're getting a community. You're getting a mastermind, essentially, if you will. You are getting support. You are getting everything that you need, and that is the most exciting thing in the world, is we are giving you 5 times as much a full A to Z solution for the price of what less than most people give you a part of the puzzle too. And I think that makes the difference. I think that's the reason why you can now succeed in a way where prior maybe you haven't succeeded before. And it is harder for everybody else to do this because I know what the team has to do at EverWebinar in WebinarJam to make this happen. I know the amount of effort, time, money, capital, resources, insight, intellectual property that's been invested in this. I know what the cost is to create something like this. This is why it's kind of weird. This is why you don't see offers like this, because they have gone the extra mile for you. But why should you care? All you should care about is this an incredible deal or not? Can I get anything comparable to this somewhere else on the internet? And if you can, oh God, I would like to know about it because I would buy that and I would buy this. But I know this, if you looked every waking minute up until Sunday night to find a deal like this, and you know the power of webinars, you will conclude that this is the only place that you can find such a deal. And we're in the business of giving you the deal to empower you to be successful. So that way we have yet another success story of another user using WebinarJam, and that ultimately will build the goodwill of the brand for the lifetime of the brand. WebinarJam.com/special, get you the special deal if you act as soon as possible.
Cool. Bill asked, can we do multiple offers in different niches with 4.0? Bill, you can have as many different things going as you want, my friend. As I mentioned earlier, you have the ability to run about 35,000 webinars a year with EverWebinar. And of course, the only restriction in WebinarJam is you cannot run another webinar simultaneously as you're live in one. So you can't have 2 different people logging into the same account and running webinars at the same time. So, depending on how long you want to run your webinars for, if it's an hour, you could run 24 in one day if you are drinking Red Bull and hyped up on on Adderall. But it's yeah, it's up to you how many you do, my friend. And I would actually encourage you. We mentioned yesterday, sometimes the information you have, and Jason said, it's better when you take your information and customize it to the audience that you're presenting to. And so if your information is relevant to, say, doctors, dentists, personal trainers, chiropractors, yoga studios, massage therapists, have a different webinar for all of them so they feel like you're speaking their language. They feel like you're talking directly to them. There is nothing more powerful than someone who thinks that you are speaking their language and speaking directly to them. It makes a huge difference when it comes to conversions. Even if the information is the same, it's the fact that you've taken the time to do that that makes them lower their their warning, like they're, is this person trying to take advantage of me? Know, like, and trust you instantly because you speak their language. You know what they're going through. That to them is so impressive. And there's nothing, I'm sure you could probably agree, you've been in a moment where you're talking to someone who seems to know you better than they know themselves. That's the person that they're most likely to want to move forward with on their journey. So I would encourage you to do that. So.
Yeah, but before you build 100 webinars, just build one webinar. Build that first webinar. Here's the mission that I'm going to assign to each and every single one of you. Make $500. That's it. And why that number? Because now you're $1 to the positive on your investment today. The real fun goal is how quickly can I make that $500? And I am confident, applied with all these resources, not even all of them, with 10% of each resource, that is a very doable thing. And then once you get one webinar, then add the second webinar, then add the third webinar, then add the fourth webinar. But before there can be 100 in 100 different niches, there has to be one in one. Before there's $1 million, there has to be $1,000. So let's not put the cart before the horse here. I understand it's fun to look towards the future and to have something to aspire to, but let's talk about the here and now. And the here and now is you're here now, and you have an opportunity to really up-level your powerful ability to serve your audience. And by the way, a webinar is something we can interact with before we get a customer. It is certainly something we can interact with during the customer and after we have a customer. It is multi-purposeful and versatile in a way I have found few other things that can work. I can't tell you how many times I have done keynote presentations where I took a webinar pitch and just deleted the pitch section of the webinar. I can't tell you how many times we take a free webinar and turn it into a $25 product and out-convert and out-value and get more testimonials from a webinar that was designed to sell something as a teaching tool. That's why I like the webinar. I'm a huge fan of doing one thing that can make me money 100 different ways as opposed to doing 100 different things that each can only make me money one different way. And so the webinar goes both ways. It can instruct and it can also sell. It can fulfill, but it also can lead gen. It can sell physical products, digital projects, services, consulting, you name it. I have sold it on a webinar, and I have outsold somebody who refuses to use a webinar to sell it. So therefore, I like winning, but I like it when they lose more than I even like it for me winning, and that's why I use webinars. So you can go and you can use this as well. And certainly, we talked a lot over the last 3 days, but would you believe, no matter how hard AJ and I tried, and we tried our hardest to give you as much as we possibly could in the last 3 days. There's no reason for us to hold anything back, because the more we can give you, the more we can help you. But try as we might, and we worked hard, we could barely begin to scratch the surface of what's possible with webinars. And we get way beyond the surface when you sign up here today. Now, to put it in perspective though, even with what we covered and with the right engine now, you can go out and make a pretty good show of it. But there's always more that you have waiting for you when you come back home with us here at WebinarJam.
So just want to congratulate Larry, Folk, Stephanie, Mark, Lori, and Vinay. Again, man, we got some beautiful names.
I like it.
Customers coming in. Welcome. We're glad to have you. Sigfrid asked, is the training going to be something he has to attend live? He's not sure if he'll be able to commit, obviously with the schedule, time zone differences, etc. I'll tell you now. No, right? I would recommend attending live because you get the ability to interact, right? But the training will be done on one day, Q&A call will be done on a different day, and you'll have the opportunity to submit questions ahead of time. So even if you can't attend both, you'll be able to access both, you'll be able to get your questions answered. I'm going to make this as interactive as possible, so to make sure that you actually get to the point that you launch your webinar as quickly as possible, because then the real thing happens. And one of the things I think a lot of people need to understand, and something that Jason has mentioned and I want to reiterate, is the fact that taking that first step is the most important part. Because then we can tweak what you have in motion. You see, most people, they have the idea and they have the dream and they never take those first steps. And so there's nothing to course correct, right? And it's like if you set out on a journey from California to New York without a GPS, you'll eventually get to New York if you set out on the journey. But if we spend forever planning the journey and we never leave in the car, the chances of our getting there are zero. So, of course, with the GPS, we want to get you there quicker, and we hope that you see us as that GPS in terms of the training and the platform and everything we're providing for you today in this very special offer. However, if you don't get started, if you don't take that first step, the first step is sign up, second step is show up, third step is launch, which is where we want to get you to. Once we get that point, then the work really begins. And if you remember the hero's journey, the crossing of the threshold, the meeting of the mentor, we are the mentors. The crossing of the threshold, investing in yourself. The work then begins.
Yeah.
All of the doubts, the fears, all of the problems that you're going to have moving forward, whether it's getting your things set up on the technology, which we'll have our tech team come in and we'll walk you through exactly how to build your WebinarJam out, how to build your EverWebinar out. But there's still going to be issues. Don't think when you cross that threshold, oh, we're off to the races. No, that's when the work begins. But it's when you've made the commitment. You've made the commitment to yourself to take webinars seriously, to move forward with webinars. And you have until Sunday to take advantage of this offer so that you can move forward at the lowest price that we've ever offered, $4.99 for the enterprise level WebinarJam account, the EverWebinar account, and all the bonuses with the live training and the kit, the success kit, as well as the live stream system that we've gone. Obviously, go back, go through that. Is just $4.99. So real world value, $6,725. Go to webinarjam.com/special. All right, we still have questions coming in, so should
Let's
we
keep
just
answering
keep
them
going?
here. We're here to serve you, right? So let's see what we can serve you with. Now, the thing too is if you don't have a product, you don't have to have a product. There are so many great products out there that don't have a webinar that if you were the one that created a webinar for them and promoted it, you can get 50% of the profits. My single greatest webinar I ever did $10 million in 8 days, and it wasn't my product. It was somebody else's product. In fact, we did that webinar on a WebinarJam platform. It was the first time ever on a WebinarJam that a webinar broke $300,000, and that wasn't even our product. And we're talking about like a month or two after WebinarJam. Originally, version 1 went live, and we were using it back then to crush launches. So think about it from that perspective. The customer doesn't care whose product it is. The customer just cares, am I going to get the right guidance and the right solution for my specific problem? And that's what the webinar can provide. Now, of course, if you make it harder than it has to be, then you decrease your chances of being successful. So this is buffet style, though. This is the other challenge. A lot of people like for you to feel that you have to do everything before you can do anything. And that might be true in certain instances, but that's certainly not true here. Just like when you go to a buffet, do you feel like you have to eat every single thing that's out there on the buffet? If you do, you're going to end up sick, right? You might want to eat pasta, or you might want to eat meat, or maybe you're a vegetarian, so you skip that. And then the dessert, don't even get me started on the dessert in a buffet. You can't eat all of that stuff. And we've designed this the same way. Eat what you want to eat, when you want to eat it, and as much as you wish to. Because we have everything for you, but don't feel in any situation that you need to consume all of it, some of it, or even any of it. Just run the system and make the simplest webinar possible to make back your investment as quickly as you possibly can. And then if you want to go further, go further. And then if you want to go further after that, go further than after that. So get started, though. You got to get started, webinarjam.com/special. What else we got, AJ?
Well, first of all, welcome Preful, welcome Carl, welcome Dave, welcome John. You guys are in for a treat. We can't wait to get started. So next question, Jeff asks, could he use WebinarJam as a paid membership platform? So basically have monthly paid coaching calls. Super
smart idea. So we have done that. In fact, we have we have more than one continuity program where we charge premium prices of $297 a month to be part of this. And typically a majority of what the user gets is 2 bi-weekly trainings per month. So a training from the host and a training from a guest expert. And so we've designed a system where we have a host run a training, and then he goes and finds the guest expert, and we split all the money because we bring the structure and the system in place. That's the value that we bring. So it is a brilliant idea to sell ongoing coaching with the primary fulfillment being bi-weekly or once a month or once a week type of webinars. A webinar, I like to sell on webinars, but I think the biggest power is fulfilling via webinars. In fact, before I ever sold anything on a webinar, I first fulfilled on a webinar. Let me tell you a little story here. This is how I got into webinars. It's 2008, and I said, I saw this new technology, I wanted to use it, it was called webinar, so I went to my little small, less than 3,000 person email marketing list, and I said, I'm going to do a training on this day. And it was with a mind map. I built out this crazy big mind map. And I said, if you show up live to this training, I will give you the recording for free. If you don't show up live, I will charge you $47 for it. At the time, I had never charged more than $17 for a product in my life, because my silly little mind was thinking that everybody would show up for free. Almost nobody showed up for free. It was embarrassing how few of these people showed up. But I taught on this mind map for 3.5 hours on a webinar. And then I went back to my email list the next day and said, you missed it. You really screwed up, because the few people that were on, this is what they said. But because I like you, I'm going to give you a second chance. I will allow you to buy the recordings for $27 only for the next 2 days, and then that's it. So this is your second chance to make it right. Boom. I never had a better conversion rate, and I never made more money quicker in my life up until that point. So I had used a webinar as a fulfillment tool. And I believe that model done actually intentionally today would make a massive amount of money, but I did it accidentally because, again, when you have a webinar, you have a leverage point that is stronger than anything else I've ever discovered, and you could practically spin a wheel and figure out a way to make money with it without even being that purposeful with it. So think about that.
Yeah. JD asks, he says, does this include all the software upgrades and access each year? Yes. So if you invest today at the $4.99 level, you'll get access to EverWebinar, WebinarJam for the next year. And every year after that, it will rebill at $4.99. If we upgrade, if we do anything, you will remain with the enterprise level account and your EverWebinarJam account, and you'll continually be upgraded. A lot of our members have been grandfathered in. That's why we have to let them know about the special and how it affects their account, because they have purchased at a certain price, or they've purchased a certain amount of time, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, at different offers. And so that's why we have that. But if you're not a user right now and you don't have an account and you purchase this account at $4.99, you'll get enterprise level WebinarJam, which is our largest WebinarJam account, plus you'll get EverWebinar, which is runs at $4.99 a year. Get both of those valued at $1,500. That's real world value. That's what it's going to cost Monday morning if you miss this for $4.99, and it will rebill at that every year until you say, hey, I don't want this anymore, and then after that you'll have to invest at the regular price. So we have a couple more questions in here.
Yeah, and I'd like to say something real quickly too, AJ, is every other day there seems to be some new pretender on the scene who says, I have a webinar solution for you. I learned last week how important webinars are, and now I hired some programmer from somewhere far east, and we have the solution, and it's going to put you out of business. And oftentimes these guys will put a WebinarJam in their grid of comparison of why they're better than WebinarJam, and the only argument they could ever make is they're cheaper. And that's scary to me, because I don't want to go with the doctor who's performing heart surgery because he's doing a 2-for-1 special. Me and another family member get the discount if we partner together. He operates on both of our hearts, right? WebinarJam has the track record. It's been here, it ain't going anywhere, and it's going further. And I was there when WebinarJam was first conceptualized, and it was the first time ever that I see a platform built by marketers for marketers. There have been 100 built since then, but none of them have taken off, because WebinarJam was the first. It started off the best, and it continued to expand on its lead. It's hard to beat somebody when they have a 10,000-mile head start in the race. And that's what you have here. So I just want to be very clear about that, because I'm sure you've heard of them. I've heard of them. I'm sure you will hear of them if you haven't heard of them before. And they never will give you the value that you get here. And they're not backed by the biggest names and the most knowledgeable people in the industry. And certainly I've always taken the position of, let's just put them to the test. Let's buy all of them, keep the one we like, return the rest of them. And we can be so bold to make such a claim because we can stand behind our work.
Fantastic. Smarty.
Smarty.
Great name. Can I point my affiliates to an EverWebinar? The answer is yes.
Please.
You can point them to WebinarJam, you can point them to EverWebinar. It depends on what you're using to manage your affiliates. We have all our affiliates promoting this, so it is absolutely possible, and it will track through. So you just need a bit of GTM, Google Tag Manager coding and that kind of stuff, which we have tutorials and guides on and everything like that. And again, we'll make sure we get some of the tech team on to walk through setup and go through some of those advanced features that you may be wanting to do. If you are, an advanced marketer and you have some tricks up your sleeve, we'll figure out how to get you the answers you need.
If they're a big affiliate, then all we do is we render the same webinar for them, but we change the call to action. So you know how we have webinarjam.com/special. We could create a webinarjam.com/smarty, give that video to you, and you can market it. And every time somebody would buy from that video, you're getting a commission. So for the bigger affiliates, we create, and through the beautiful, wonderful world of EverWebinar automation, we create specific versions just for them. Now that's advanced class kind of stuff. Just start with getting somebody to promote you or partner together with you, and then go from there. But certainly that is possible, because I have promoted other people's webinars more often than I have promoted my own webinar. Because I just like webinars, and there's one of me, and there's many of you. So there are lots of people who are looking for webinars to promote. Your webinar can't be promoted if it doesn't exist, but if it exists and is not in the right system, it still can't be promoted. Good news for you, WebinarJam is going to allow you to create that webinar as quick and easy as possible and get it live so people can promote it as quick and easily as possible.
Yeah, so Jim asks, do we also do one-on-one video conferences, like if they want to, have an individual coaching call? And we actually have 2 features in WebinarJam that allow you to do this. We have the always-on webinar, which is a link you can give out that is an always-on webinar, and it's like 2 people come into the room. Or you can do a just now webinar, which you press a button and launches a webinar. You give that link to that person. It's an individual link for that person, so it's just exclusive for you two. You can bring them on via WebinarJam, so they can turn on their camera, they can come on, and you can bring them on. And you may have seen, we turned this feature off, but there is the ability to have people, if you're doing a group call, and you have, let's say you have 20 clients on and you don't want everybody to have their webcam on at the same time, they can raise their hand and you can actually invite them onto the call, so you can bring people on individually if you have that. So you can do one-to-one, you can do one-to-many, and you can do one to a heck of a lot, right? 5,000 plus is the ability you now have with your WebinarJam Enterprise account when you take advantage of this offer today. So lots of questions about checkout and that, and so WebinarJam plugs into whatever you want to use. So whatever platform you currently use for your cart, you'll be able to use. You can just have a simple PayPal link that you just plug in, like the button that's on the screen that you can press. That could just go to a PayPal checkout page, or if you have a more advanced checkout system like Kartra, you can connect it to Kartra and use the Kartra Pay checkout process there, or any other cart that you may have already. So again, I wouldn't get caught up in the tech, right? There's a lot of questions around the tech. Someone asked, what's the delay? So the delay is about 7 to 10 seconds. It's what it's been for the last 3 days. And that's a very normal delay for any live, right? And we have documents on how to minimize that to make sure that you're not, longer than that in terms of that. And also for your users at home, how to maximize their viewer pleasure, right? Because obviously the feed could be perfect on your end, going out on your end, but if they have spotty Wi-Fi, or they're not, hardwired, and they've got other apps open, they're either not going to have the right experience. So we give you all the things you need to maximize that, and all the tutorials and everything like that. So that's important to note. But again, this is where most people make mistakes, right? And is you start asking questions about little things. And I get that they're important. I'm not saying they're not important. I'm not saying these questions aren't important. But these are the kind of things that what people do is they say, okay, I have this great idea, but now I'm going to try to find a million ways that it won't work. So I'm going to try to shoot this down in every way possible. And I understand there's fear, there's doubt, there's thoughts that creep into our mind. And so we start to ask questions. Does it do this? Does it do that? Does it do this? Does it do that? The reality is that this platform is going to give you everything you need to run webinars in your business. And outside of that, everything else is, can be coded in. Right. So right now, Facebook recently changed within the last couple of years, changed the way you can stream to Facebook. And in order to be able to stream to Facebook, you have to have downloaded something onto your computer. One of the best things about WebinarJam is there's no download. So while other software requires every single user to download something on their computer, and then every time you try to fire it up, it asks you to upgrade to their latest version, and you spend 5 minutes screwing around trying to access the webinar because you've got to download the new version. WebinarJam doesn't do that. It opens in the browser, and they're in the room right away. Whether they're on their phone, whether they're on their desktop, laptop, whatever it is, they're in that room right away. There's nothing for them to download. There's nothing for you to download. But because of that, Facebook no longer allows us to push into Facebook because they require a download that pushes directly into Facebook and nothing else. However, you can get around that with other software as we do. So again, although WebinarJam isn't directly going in there, if that's something you want to do for whatever reason, you want to push to those platforms, there is software like Wireclass and other software that allows you to do that. So it's not about whether it can be done, it's about whether it needs to be done right now. And depending on where your business is, yes or no. If you're just getting started, just get the webinar done, just get going, and we can worry about everything else. Trust us, we are constantly paying attention to that, and if Facebook allows us to start pushing directly into there again without download for the users, we'll absolutely do that. It's just unfortunate that that's what their new requirements are, so it makes it difficult. However, you can still go to YouTube, you can still do these other things that we have done in the past. And so, in order to do that, you do need some other software. But it is possible. And really, there's nothing that isn't possible because of the API integrations. Things like Zapier allows you to plug everything in. But again, don't get caught up in the tech, right? That's the biggest mistake to make here. What's important is, okay, do I believe webinars can work for me? Hopefully, you've spent the last 2 days with us, and we've convinced you, or at least shown you, the possibilities that are available to you through the power of webinars. And at this point, it's just a decision. Are you going to do webinars, or are you not going to do webinars, right? That's the decision you have. And if you are going to do webinars, we believe we have the best platform out there in order to teach and transact via webinars, both live and automated. And we want to give you both today with this special offer. We want to give you the training that goes with it, and we want to give you the platforms at the lowest we've ever given you. So it's just $4.99 today if you're ready to get started. Head over to webinarjam.com/special, and you can take advantage of that until Sunday. Like I said, Monday morning, it's gone. You missed out. So head over and do that. We have a few more buyers who have come in that I want to congratulate for joining us. We've got Helmut, David, Leanne, Mike, and Rogerio. I think that's how you say his name.
I'm glad you're reading the names instead of me, AJ.
I know all these people at home are like, I butchered my name.
I can't even pronounce my kid's name.
Yeah, I'll make sure I get it right. So when we go in to do the live training, you're going to have to write in and tell me how to say your names. Or when we bring you on for the live Q&A, you can just share with me their correct pronunciations. Yeah.
So AJ, I've done over 100 million in webinar sales, and it's got to be true because Inc. magazine and Entrepreneur magazine both wrote an article about it, right? It actually is true, but I have never done a webinar that's streamed to Facebook. Any of that stuff you just talked about is Greek to me. Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. You know what does matter? A powerful webinar with a strong offer on a platform which is stable. And we're giving you all of that here today. Now, if you want to innovate after you've made a bunch of money and you find some cool new hack and trick that will work for like 4 months and then it won't work anymore, go for it, right? But we're giving you real, valuable, long-lasting, everlasting strategy. So just keep that in mind. I love you. I know that you're concerned about every little detail. I appreciate that. But I'm telling you, don't let that get in the way of you making a smart decision. Don't major in a minor thing. Major and a major thing. And that's what we have for you today, is a major thing. AJ, what else we got here? We got anything else that's important? I know we do, because I'm looking at the
Jason,
numbers.
This is from Dave. What's the lowest ticket price you've ever sold from a webinar?
$1 is the lowest ticket price.
$1?
$1.
One whole dollar. You know, if you get $1 from 1 million people, you have $1 million.
Well, and that's actually the point, right? And so we have had situations where we have stepped into audiences that are the size of hundreds of thousands or millions even, right? And here's a psychological principle for you to understand is when somebody pays you money, it completely changes the relationship they have with you. The amount of money doesn't matter. They go from, I've never given you money, to I have given you money. So in certain instances, it makes sense to get a large amount of buyers just to pay anything to you. Now, that is atypical. Most of you, I would rather you have 10 webinar attendees and you get one of them to pay $2,000 to you. Because if you can do that, you can repeat that 100,000 times, right? But there might be instances where you want to sell something that is completely inexpensive just to convert somebody who has never bought from you to somebody who has bought from you. So in fact, we have often sold access to a webinar for $1. I'll do you one better. We will donate the money to charity because we don't want the money. We just want you to come in with a buyer's state of mind. Because if you pay, you're more likely to pay attention. So we can sell webinars for $1 and deliver them. Here's the cool thing. It's not black and white. It's every color of the rainbow. Whatever your little cute heart wants to do, you could probably do. So let's make you some money, and then let's make you some more money. So there are times when you want to go low. There are times when you're going to go high. There are times when you want to go in the middle, right? I want you to go to the quickest, fastest path to make money that you say it was worth that effort to make that money, and then say, what can we do next time that can maybe even be better? But it always comes from the heart first of how will this help the audience? See, like, me selling this to you today, ain't no thing, baby. I love to be able to sell this to you. You know why? Because before I offered this to you, I gave you 5.5, maybe 6.5 hours of insight and value that I think, hopefully, was worth more to you than most courses that you paid for. Am I right in that assessment? I bet you that I am, right? So why should I feel bad about offering you something? Because, geez, if this is what he's giving away for free, imagine what he's going to have when you invest with him. That's what I want you to do to all of your audiences. Now, you're not going to be at the level that we're at first for most of you. Some of you are. Some of you already have an audience. You are sitting on a gold mine. You have an audience of a lot of people who are waiting for an excuse to give you money, and you just haven't provided it to them yet. And you will be able to tap into them and go, boom, just like that, and say, whoa, this make money stuff is actually pretty easy. Now, most of you, though, you're probably starting from the ground floor or maybe even underneath the ground floor. So you got to start somewhere. And this is the somewhere that you could start, because we don't care about the information so much. We will freely give you as much as we possibly can. And we tried our best to give you as much as it makes sense for the amount of time that we have to offer it to you, because we have the technology for you. We don't have to worry about somebody on YouTube teaching you any of this stuff, right? We have the technology. They can't copy the technology. They can't push a button and have the technology, because in order to copy the technology, they'd have to copy the 7 years of trial and error. They'd have to copy the 63,000 users that have went through it. They'd have to copy the support. They'd have to copy all of the stuff that is non-obvious to the outside eye, that is only obvious once you experience it, which they will not do, because they'd rather stand in the sidelines watching success instead of being part of success. Do you want to be one of those people on the sidelines? I hope not. You know, I hope not. I don't want you to be that. Do you want to be that? I mean, come on, let's go.
Dietrich's asked, can I use WebinarJam to do virtual business meetings? And the answer is yes. You can use WebinarJam for whatever kind of meeting you want. We just prefer webinars, but you absolutely don't have to have any slides whatsoever. You can turn on your camera, they can turn on their camera, or a group can turn on their camera, and you guys can all interact. I think you can have 6 people on camera at the same time. After that, you would have to take someone off, put someone on, but it's possible to run virtual business meetings or any type of meeting through WebinarJam, just like you would most other platforms. Like I said, it's designed to do a whole bunch more, but you can absolutely use it for that as well. Many people do. Marcus asked, do you include traffic training to teach us how to drive users to register for your webinar? So Hopefully you got to watch day 2. If not, you'll get it as part of this package. And on day 2, Jason went through a bunch of ways to grow your audience, whether it's your own audience, whether it's leveraging other people's audiences, or whether it was driving cold traffic. One of the things I'm going to do, and it's not in the 6-week training because it's going to be a bonus to the 6-week training, but I'll let you guys in on it now as you're asking, is I'm going to have some specific experts on people who do this. That's all they do is drive traffic from Facebook, for example, to webinars. Come and do some training for you. So those will be bonus trainings that you get. But we'll make sure you know exactly what to do on the webinar, from start to finish. We'll make sure you know how to set everything up from start to finish. We'll make sure you know how to fill your webinars, and we'll make sure you know what to do after the webinars to maximize your profits, so that there is no piece of this puzzle that's left unsolved. We're not trying to give you a half-finished puzzle here and let you go out and figure out how to do it somewhere else by somebody else. We want to give you everything you need to succeed. That's why we've put this special offer together. That's why it includes the live stream system. It includes the Webinar Genesis 6-week live intensive. It includes the ultimate webinar success. It includes the private webinar mastermind of our users, so you can ask the group what they're doing. Just the other day, someone posted in there, they ran their first webinar, they made over $10,000. And again, I'm not saying that's going to happen for you, but there's the examples out there. There's the people you can lean on. Get feedback from. On the flip side of that, someone said they ran their webinar. They got a terrible 0.4% registration. They posted their webinar registration page, and the group went to town on tearing the copy apart, telling them how to fix it. The great thing was, though, that they got out there, they did it, they put their first webinar up, and that's what we want to help you with. Putting your first webinar up, setting you up for the most success possible, and doing it for the lowest investment we have ever done of $4.99. If you go to webinarjam.com special, you'll see that. If you're looking for a payment plan, you can see the payment plan there too. That too is available to you.
Yeah, and I showed you today how to make 6 figures with a 0.4% conversion rate. So just get it going, okay? Every problem needs to be solved in its due time. So the person who sits here today and says, how do I solve my traffic problem, my funnel problem, my technology problem, my webinar problem, and my offer problem? That's riding 5 horses at the same time. Let me give you a hint. You can't ride more than 1 horse at a time. If you ride more than 1 horse, you're going to piss off some horses and you're going to eat dirt. It's not possible, right? So let's solve your first problem, which is having a webinar. Get that done. You say, Jason, I don't know how to get traffic. Who cares? We're not worried about that today. 1 problem at a time. We're going to get the webinar solved for you. Then we're going to get the technology solved for you. And then we'll get the traffic solved from you. But you're going to have to trust us that we will, in fact, have the traffic solved for you. Now, here's why we will have the traffic solved for you. Because if we get you to sign up for a nice, shiny new piece of software and you can't make money with it, guess how long you stay a customer? The answer is not long enough to satisfy my needs. And so we want to get you positively addicted to the situation where we take care of you, so whatever you invest in us becomes laughable compared to what you get in return. And just like the magic of compound interest, it continues to get better over time. So find that out and be pleasantly surprised when you sign up here today.
Great. Welcome to Mary, Tony, and Mia joining us along with everybody else that we've mentioned. Super glad to have you here. Donna asks, will this work in the travel industry?
It will if you wanted to, right? So are there people in the travel industry already that are doing webinars and being successful with them? The answer to that is absolutely 100%. So I was telling the crew here yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, about the time I attended a private dinner with Jeff Bezos, richest man in the world himself. There was like 50 or 60 of us. It was the night he bought The Expanse from Sci-Fi that was discontinued. The crew from The Expanse were in there. It was pretty cool because I'm a small-town Iowa boy, so this is like big-time LA stuff for me. And here's what's really interesting about that. The guy that invited me to be part of that, because it was invitation only, came from the travel industry. And he was a client of mine. And he was a guy who absolutely studied me from a webinar perspective to use webinars in the travel industry. Now, they're a rare breed to use that in the travel industry. Most people in the travel industry would rather complain about how the internet is ruining things for them. So their loss, your gain. So you can go ahead and use it in the travel industry. Now, if you don't use it in the travel industry, I guarantee you one day somebody else will, and you got to be okay with them having your customers and your money. AJ, would you be okay with a situation like that?
Yeah, I'd be fine.
I wouldn't be fine with it. I hope none of you would be fine with this. Having somebody else have your customers and your money.
Oh, I thought you said they were going to give me those customers and give me their money.
I would be fine with it. Okay, let's just be very clear. I'd be fine with any of you giving me your customers and giving me your money, but I would not be okay with the flip, and hopefully you wouldn't be either. So think about that. So does this work in the travel industry? If you want it to. The real question is, does this or doesn't it work? That's not the real question. The real question is, are you ready to make it work in the travel industry? And I think you know the answer to that.
Yeah, someone asked, do you ever market to our webinar registrations? And the answer is absolutely not. We never download your list. We never send any emails. Of course, powered by WebinarJam is there. It's not clickable. It's just the software, just like any other software has the brand. But other than that, there was no way, and I don't know if you've had a bad experience of that in the past, but we're not going into your account and taking anything. Like earlier I said, you own your webinars, you own your lists. We don't have anything to do with those. I'm pretty sure that's highly illegal, so we're not trying to get in any trouble here.
Listen, I mean, I understand that it is a concern, and I'm glad that you brought that up, especially in today's age. But we take the Apple position. You know how Apple is like, that's your data. We're not going to Google Maps you. Apple Maps doesn't track any of that stuff, and users might complain because they want you to read their mind and know when they want to go to Starbucks and all that jazz. But we take the Apple position of your data is your data. Your privacy is your privacy. There'd be no quicker way for us to commit marketing suicide than to violate that sacred trust. Now, unfortunately, other types of platforms may look at things differently, but that's not our business. Our business is making your business the best business that it can possibly be for you and everything that comes alongside it with it. So I appreciate that. The real thing here, though, is how are you getting in front of customers so they can know what is private in your head from a change perspective, a transformational perspective, so you can share it with them. So it's the opposite. How do you get your message out there to as many people as possible? And WebinarJam is the place to do that, because I will tell you, I've seen many wonderful webinars die cold, miserable deaths because they never get off that person's computer because they get hung up in this techno-babble dance. Well, I can do it this way, and I could try this thing, and I want to customize it this way, and I want to do it that way, and I heard TikTok's popular now because my daughter told me it was, and so we're going to figure out how to broadcast it on that. No, just get it out there. WebinarJam will have it out there quicker than it should be allowed to if you let it. And you can let it by going to webinarjam.com/special. Get signed up right now.
Steve's asking, do you offer support? Of course, the answer is yes, Steve. We're obsessed with customer support here and creating a great user experience. Right now, our customer support is inundated with tickets about WebinarJam 4.0 as all our current members are being upgraded and transferred over. And so we've got a pretty high ticket volume right now, and they're working around the clock. In fact, over Super Bowl weekend, they didn't take the time off to spend with their family or watch the game. They were sitting in front of their computers answering the questions because they understand how important it is to get the responses to you as a customer. And of course, sometimes there's a little bit of a slow delay, but I can promise you, if you write in, you're going to get a response and we're going to take care of you. Of course, during this 6 weeks of the live training, you'll have access directly to us via Q&As that we'll be doing live, as well as during the live training, you can write in and do so. We'll have support along the way. In addition to that, plus with the private mastermind, you get 4 Q&A calls a month on top of everything else we've said. So every single week forever, you'll be able to tap into a Q&A call. It actually happens every Wednesday. Not sure. I think it's at 11 a.m., maybe noon. Could be off on that. But basically, every week you'll get access to a Q&A call where you can come, show up, and our team is there to answer any questions you have, whether it's tech questions, whether it's marketing questions. They're there to help you and point you in the right direction so you can get set up. However, that said, I want to be very clear on something. You know, we've rebuilt the platform, and essentially the reason we did that was because it was the 3.0 was an upgraded version from 1.0. It was built on old technology, and at the time it was the best it could be. When we first built WebinarJam, we built it on top of the YouTube Live feature, and then we realized we had to have our own broadcasting, and so we've continuously be upgrading the system. And unfortunately, as technology advances so fast, many of the things we used in the beginning have got to the point where we're simply patching stuff. Every time Chrome updates, we have to patch the system in order for it to work. And so just over a year ago, we sat down and we said, how do we stop this? Because every time something was happening, it was breaking the system. And as you know, if you're running traffic to a webinar and suddenly it's not working, that's a big no-no. So we realized we were going to have to rebuild everything from the ground up. And so we rebuilt it to look very similar to the other systems, so it's super easy to use, and it's the same platform that everybody's come to know, like, and trust. However, it's rebuilt completely from the ground up on new technology with new software, so it's all new, powerful, all new, stable, doesn't crash the way it used to crash. And we've even built in special features that if it did, now you've got an emergency button that will bring all the attendees into a brand new room, so you don't lose them. Whereas before you'd have to send an email out. Here's the link to the room. Sorry, it crashed. And that happens on every webinar platform. Trust me, I've used them. It's happened to me on those platforms. But WebinarJam 4.0 is the best version we've ever released to the marketplace. We're super pumped on that. And when you get inside that system, what you'll see, if you go to create a webinar, you'll have the express webinar creation or the full webinar creation. And the express webinar creation allows you to go live. I think it's within five, maybe 15 minutes max. And it just takes you through the most important things, pre-populates them, builds everything for you, and you can have your webinar up and running. The full system walks you through. But literally, you could just go through, and it's so self-explanatory. You just go through step by step, and by the end of it, you're ready to go live. Again, if you struggle in any way, I'm going to make sure during our time together as we build you to launch, to get that webinar out the door, that we bring in the tech team and we do some special training just for you, so we don't have any questions unanswered whatsoever. However, we have tutorials, we have guides, we have all these different things, and you have the Facebook group, the private mastermind group to ask those questions too. So you'll get all of that when you join today. Just go to webinarjam.com/special. You can get started today for just $4.99. All right. I think that's it.
That can't be it. Is that it? Well, if it is, then we'll know very shortly here. You got us online. This is your last chance. This is the thing where we can decide if this is for you or not. WebinarJam.com/special. I know that there are some of you still listening to us right now who are on the maybe fence, and I don't like the maybe fence. The maybe fence is you're sitting on the fence, and you could fall into yes territory or you can fall into no territory. And most people who sit on the fence remain on the fence, which is even scarier. I want you in if it makes sense for you to be in. If it doesn't make sense for you to be in, I certainly am just happy to have been of service and of value over the last 3 days to you. And maybe in the future we can make things work, or maybe not, right? But if you are on the maybe fence, we got to figure out what would it take for you to know for certain what the best decision is for you. Because maybe yes isn't the best decision for you, but a decision is going to be the best decision for you. Because I don't want you to go to bed at night thinking about, well, what about this, and maybe that, and possibly this, and perhaps that as well. And so let's just jam on it right now while we're here. Now, which one should you start with first, EverWebinar or WebinarJam? And the answer to that is yes. I don't care which one you start with first. I don't care what the supposed experts say, most of whom have learned from me and then don't listen to me, because my theory has always been this. You start with the webinar that can get in front of the customer quickest. So if you want to start EverWebinar, great. If you want to go live first, great. You say, well, Jason, I heard I want to go live first to prove it and then automate it. Nah. Just put it out there, EverWebinar, and then do a live one later. I don't care. It does not matter. Ultimately, you will do both. Here's the best thing of all. This is why I'm so jazzed up about this launch right now. Is typically in the past, users had to make a tough decision. They had to say, and I'm not talking about specifically any platform or brand. I'm just saying webinar people in general say, if I'm going to go live, I got to buy a system for live. And if I'm going to go Evergreen, I got to buy a separate system for Evergreen, because you do. You can't do the same thing on one system. You can't do both live and automated. You need special tools for special jobs, right? So it's a tough decision as a consumer when you say, do I buy this one or do I buy that one? It's like, which dog of mine is my favorite? I can't tell you. They're both my favorite for different reasons, right? So this is the only opportunity, really, that you can get the best of both worlds. You can have your cake and you can eat it too, because we're giving you both tools so you can use the right tool when it's right for you, but whichever tool you want to use first is yours to use. You don't have this dilemma of choice. The choice is yes. We've given you both. And now it's time for you to accept that responsibility and to step up and say, yeah, I'm ready. Because here's the thing. I know you're ready. AJ knows you're ready. We all know you're ready. Do you know you're ready? Show us you're ready. Let's get started.
A couple more buyers. I want to congratulate Jan, James, Madeline for joining us. I am so excited that you're going to move forward on this journey with us. We can't wait to help you get your webinar set up and out to the world. So There's a couple other questions really quick. You know, can I record a webinar first prior to putting out there? You can go live on WebinarJam just to yourself. You don't have to have an audience to turn it on. So yeah, you can absolutely go live on WebinarJam, get it recorded as a draft or as your first version, and then roll it into EverWebinar if you're not comfortable being in front of a live audience, or if you're worried about that. If you wanted to, you could record it, download it, chop it up, edit it, then upload it back to EverWebinar. So that's basically the offer here. So you guys have seen the offer, you see what you get. Let's recap that one more time for you so you know everything you're going to get. So you're going to get the live stream system valued at $999. You're going to get 1 year of the WebinarJam Enterprise account valued at $999. You're going to get the EverWebinar account valued at $499. And remember, those two you'll continue to get yearly at the $499 investment when you move forward today. Plus, you're going to get Webinar Genesis 6-week live intensive valued at $2,997. You're going to get Ultimate Webinar Success Kit valued at $734. You're going to get the private webinar mastermind valued at $497. And don't forget, you're going to get a 90-day money-back guarantee, which is priceless, right? Total value is $6,725. Today, when you go to webinarjam.com special, you get it for $499. That's going to be available until this Sunday at midnight. After that, the price goes up. Well, actually, all the bonuses go away. And if you want to get the software, it's going to be a $1,500 investment for you. So we want to thank you for joining us over the past 3 days as we've gone through the live stream system. Your feedback, your questions have been a valuable part of this process, and we really do appreciate that. And we hope that you do continue this journey with us, because we can't wait to see what webinars do for you in your business. And we hope one day you'll be in the studio with us, sharing your biggest tips and tricks to those who are sitting on the other side of the camera. So from myself and from Jason, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to doing this again sometime. We hope to see you starting in the live 6-week intensive. Until then, have a good day.
Bye for now.